All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Wednesday, Hump Day. Yeah, June 17th,
Oh
2006.
yeah.
My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future. Number one, a radio/podcast in America. Have a great show today. I'm pumped. A lot of big information came out last night. I love it when information breaks and you got something really exciting to talk about. We have Dr. Shiva on at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So please like and share. Please like and share. This is a big one. Dr. Shiva is one of my favorite guests because he really doesn't care what people think. I mean, he offends just about everybody because, in my opinion, he tells you what's really going on in the world. And I relate to him. Isaiah was on the phone with him an hour the other day talking about censorship, how the algorithms have
Yeah.
knocked him down. Like I said, he had millions of followers on X when he was talking about stolen elections, talking about Dr. Darth Fauci and COVID, and they knocked him completely out of the game. I mean, I think he has now 300,000 followers on X. And as I say, every time I go and check him out, you got to go directly to him. He doesn't run through your feed unless you're really trying to follow Dr. Shiva. And they basically targeted him, so you can't get his information. And I feel the same way. Could be just me. But you know, when I try to tag People's Lobby, Isaiah, on X, every time it gets it wrong, I have to do it 2 or 3 times to get it to tag People's Lobby on X because it's at People's Lobby Mo. And I'll show it to you. I'll take a video of it. When I try to tag at People's Lobby Mo, it takes the E out of People's Lobby and puts it on the end. And I kept going, what is going on? Am I typing this wrong? Is this crazy? It just changes how People's Lobby is spelt. And then when I try to tag it, it doesn't work. I have to do it 2 or 3 times to get People's Lobby Mo tagged on things that I put out on X. I know this is, everybody's going to tell me it's something wrong. It just happens to me a lot and nobody else.
Have you tried on your computer?
No, it's just from my phone.
Okay.
I never do my computer. But this is the third or fourth phone it's been doing this kind of stuff to me, Isaiah. So unless I get bad phones all the time, this goes back for 10 years. This has been happening to me, and I've filmed it all. I've shown.
Well, I mean, the things you're saying, I know you want to believe that they're conspiracy.
Why does it do it just on one?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Why would it do it just on one, Isaiah? Why would it only do it on People's Lobby, nothing else?
Yeah, I've seen the things that you've showed me are things that so far that I've seen are things that are explainable by glitches so far. And so there are definitely people that target. There's definitely targeting. There's definitely censorship and suppression. I think sometimes people think a little too much into it, and they get a little too worried, or like they blow things a little bit too out of proportion. Unfortunately, because technology is not.
You know why I think that happens, though, Isaiah?
Technology is not perfect, though. That's what people don't realize.
And 15,000 followers. When you have 15,000 or 15,000 people watching your show every day, and then you go to do one, and there's 100. You start to think, well, maybe something's going on behind the scenes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't say that there's not suppression. I just think that people, when suppression does happen to you, I think it's easy to think that everything is an attack. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's
not an attack necessarily, but that you're being censored intentionally. You're being messed with or effed with, if you like, intentionally. That's kind of
that's what I'm saying. Is I think that people think that they're getting a lot of times, like they might think, oh, because this and this, I'm getting suppressed. But a lot of times, and this has been time after time after time I've gone through people with this.
Time after time. That's the Lopper, by the way.
I mean, many, many, many times, especially with churches, especially during COVID and stuff like that. And I show them, no, it's not that. It's just the technology is malfunctioning, or it was a glitch or something like that. And so I'm not saying that there isn't. I've seen it myself. There is definitely suppression. I just think that people, they overanalyze. That's a great word. Overanalyze it. And then
I think it is curiosity, right? I think I told you the story before when Donald Trump was running for president and I joined his campaign. So I'll just give you an example. There's no problem with anything that I'm doing on Facebook until I started running, until I joined Donald Trump's campaign.
Facebook is the worst.
Within a few weeks of joining Donald Trump's campaign, and I, at the time, I knew a lot of people. I was working in the shoe business from coast to coast. And when I would type out the word Trump, every time I would start to write Trump, I just spelled it like anybody else did. I would say Trump, capital T, lowercase RUMP. Every time I would hit the T and the next R, it would capitalize Trump and then double space it. That's what I saw on my phone. I got a buddy, Tom, who's probably listening right now, who was living with me. I was going through my divorce, and he was staying with me at the time. And on my phone, it capitalized Trump, and on his, it didn't. So what I'm typing on my phone, I see something different on his phone.
Yeah, so that's possible. That is a possible thing. Do you know what phone he had? Do you know what phone you had?
I had an iPhone.
Do you know what phone he had?
He has an iPhone now, so I'm assuming it was an iPhone then.
Yeah, we don't if we don't know, then yeah, it's very that's a possible thing to happen with
Why would it
technology
capitalize if I'm not capitalizing? Why would my phone automatically capitalize it? Because it still does it to
because
this day.
yeah, it remembers things and it'll auto create things for you on iPhones, and so it's just it's a feature within the iPhone, and so that's a normal thing, and then sending and someone else seeing something different than what you sent is very normal as well with text messaging.
Huh.
And so
I
that's why
want
I'm saying is like I know that it's easy when something else has happened to think that that's happening, but that's an easily explainable. I've seen it happen with many different things.
but it shouldn't even
Uh,
be legal, right? Because if I'll just give you for
well,
example,
it's just technology. That's how it works.
it shouldn't be legal. It shouldn't be legal
Well,
because
it's not that it's
it's changing the meaning of something that I'm doing. If
yeah
I'm on a service and I'm communicating, now I'm saying,
yeah
you can always say that these tech companies are private industries, but that's a bunch of
yeah
bullshit and everybody knows it. These tech companies are
yeah.
attached to the government. They got
Goving
funding from the CIA. It's just it's a government private cooperation, and they
InQtel.
monitor every and you tell they monitor everything that you do. So if I'm typing and I'm communicating with somebody, it'd be like writing a letter and somebody goes, "Well, I own the
Yeah,
paper, therefore I'm going to change the way you write the letter and
for
change the
sure.
meaning of what you're writing." That changes my freedom of speech as far as I can tell. Now,
Yeah.
the government's not going to do anything
Well,
about it because
that's
it's implicit,
yeah,
but
but that's not changing what you wrote though. That's what you
it's
communicated.
changing the meaning, right?
Well, no, what you're communicating through technology, through that is to the technology, that's communicating what you communicated because it's spelling the same thing and sending it. It's the capitalization or things like that. It's hard to get into the nuances here without getting too in the weeds with technology stuff, but
I'm fascinated.
it is extremely possible. It's 100% possible because, and I had to explain this to a bunch of churches as well because they use text messaging services to
Yep.
communicate with their congregations. And they'd be like, well, this person showed me and it looks different on their phone. And this person showed me. I'm like, okay, well, what phone do they have? Oh, well, this person has an Android. Okay. Okay, let's look at an Android and an iPhone side by side and look at the messages. Do they look different? Okay, yeah, that's because you have an iPhone and you have an Android. There's going to be different. And so, there's all these things that people aren't necessarily thinking about that have effects.
Yeah.
And I'm just not. I'm a
So
conspiracy theorist.
you don't think there's any black helicopters above my house right now?
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying is like everything that I've heard, all the explanations of things that you've explained to me, besides the Spotify show and besides Facebook with Trump, a lot of the things are explainable with technological glitches that I've seen, or they can be recreated, or other people have as
Okay.
well.
All right. I'm gonna
And
calm
so
down.
and that's why I'm saying don't get too worked up. And that's I'm
I'm
trying
not.
to use this. No, I'm trying to
I'm
use
not.
this as a lesson for other people too, right?
Right.
Because it's
No,
not
I
just
just
me and you. So I've heard this with so many people. They're like, well, I'm getting suppressed or I'm getting this. And it's like, well, uh, maybe, right? It's a big maybe. That's the thing.
Good morning. What do we got? Sean. Good
Oh,
morning,
we got a lot.
John. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Elaine. Good morning, Angie.
This is what John
There's
said.
my man right there. All right.
He
So
said, I know about people silencing your speech.
all right, it's just it's so bothersome to me. Yesterday we were talking about it, and you and I were talking about it this morning. So yesterday we put out a thumbnail, which just kind of gives people an idea on Rumble and YouTube what we're going to be talking about. And it said, "Is DC a criminal mafia?" Right. So yesterday I check on Facebook. There's nobody watching on Facebook. There are like 8 people watching on Facebook, and I'm like, well, that's kind of normal because our show is not really geared for Facebook necessarily. But we had 6 likes and 13 shares. And I'm saying like and share, like and share, like and share continually. And then all of a sudden you have 6 likes and 13 shares, and it just doesn't make any sense. It caught up
No,
later in the day, but I mean,
the
I
shares are,
don't know. I just
yeah,
think there's no doubt. I was talking to Dr. Shiva, and I said, he goes, it's targeted suppression. They create a
100%.
digital profile of you. And if you're going against what the platform wants you to talk about, they just suppress your speech. And that's what not
Yeah.
doctor, that's what Elon Musk said. You have freedom of
Mhm.
speech, you don't have freedom of reach. And that to me, again, should be illegal.
Yeah.
How can platforms that have all of this power, it is the public square nowadays, how can they determine who's going to see what and not have an influence over the outcome of everything? If 3 million people see something and 200 people see something else, who has more influence? And why does the platform that is now the public square, how people communicate outside of corporate press, how can they have that kind of power? And how can the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, if
Yeah.
they're not complicit, how can they
Mhm.
not make laws to change that and say, listen, everybody has the same opportunity. If somebody wants to see Rob Carter run through their feed, they get to see Rob Carter run through their feed. If they want to see Dr. Shiva
Yeah.
run through their feed, they see Dr. Shiva run through their feed. And we talk about it all. And
Mhm.
I'm off because I got so many things to talk about.
No,
But the
this is
reason
good.
I find it so fascinating is because you can see who they're promoting, and sometimes the people that they promote that have these incredible numbers on social media are people that are saying
Mhm.
basically the same thing as me. The only difference, and this is what Dr. Shiva and I will talk about today, the only difference is they do not try to organize or do anything about it. They are just people behind a microphone. They're not trying to organize people. Tucker Carlson is not going, you know what? The world's coming to an end. And because I have $9 bazillion in the bank and I have an incredible microphone and the ability to capture people's imagination, what I'm going to do is organize within the states. I'm going to travel all 50 states. I'm going to do a show in Missouri
I
on
think you
July
would.
18th, and I'm going to show up on July 18th. I want everybody to live stream it. We're going to get this information out to the public. We're going to organize people. We're going to organize against our government that is suppressing our rights. He doesn't do that. None of them do that. And I find that so fascinating. How can you go behind a microphone day in and day out and talk about what your government is doing to you, talk about the relationship between Israel and the United States, know about the USS Liberty survivors, and do jack squat to organize people against it? Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just me,
Yeah,
Isaiah.
it's interesting because I feel, I'm a logical person, and so I think
That's
about logic a lot. And if social media is the public square, right, then we should have no limitations. And that's essentially the same logic they were using to say why we needed to silence COVID because it's the public square, right?
Yep.
They were saying because it's the public square, this is disinformation. We don't want this to get
Correct.
out, right? But now,
That's a
oh no,
perfect
this isn't the
example.
public square. This is private now. It's
Perfect example.
one
Perfect
time it
example.
is, and
Yes.
now it's not. I That's what I can't rectify in my mind.
Perfect example. So I got squashed when I was talking about what was going on, and I was rooting for Donald Trump. So the beginning of my show, when I started doing podcasting at the very beginning in 2021, I was talking about Donald Trump a lot. At that point, it was not suppressing me. You know when it suppressed me? When I started talking about Donald Trump promoting vaccines, and then it went just my entire audience went away one time. I was
Operation
listening to
Warp
a
Speed
show.
into the ground.
Absolutely. As soon as I said, wait a minute, what Donald Trump and Melania Trump are out here on the campaign trail selling vaccines, selling genetic therapies. And I said, I've been studying it as soon as they started talking about it. It's a bunch of nonsense. Who's going to stick a needle in their arm with a substance they don't even understand and nobody can even tell you what's in it? They're hiding all of the things that would mitigate the effects of COVID. They're hiding that information like hydroxychloroquine and zinc and what was the other one? I forget the other drug that was out there at the time. I said, you can't even talk about
Ivermectin.
that. Ivermectin, right? I said, it's just kind of crazy. If you talk about solutions to problems,
Horse medicine.
yeah, then they squash you if you talk about solutions. Anyway,
That was so
we're gonna
funny
move
to
on.
see I remember still to this day
Good
the
morning, Donnie.
headline
Good
about
morning,
like
Jay. Sorry.
Joe. No, you're fine. No, it's totally fine. Joe Rogan talking about it said like Joe Rogan took horse medicine or
Right.
something like that, right? It's like, oh my gosh.
And if you remember, he came out and did a video where he complained about it and then immediately started to backtrack right after that. They don't play games. I mean, I don't know what goes on with these big players that are making big money, but somehow they suppress their speech. Got to get into several things because I want to touch on them and then we'll talk about them tomorrow and Friday. But just want to wet your whistle on some of the issues that are going on. And let's start with number one on the list, Isaiah. If you could just post that very
Oh yeah.
quickly. So there is a protest going on in Jefferson City today. Governor Mike Kehoe is going to talk about AI data centers, as I understand it. And then we are going to have, or there's going to be a protest in Jefferson City. So the people involved, I'll try to get them on the show tomorrow. But if you don't mind, can you read
Wow.
that for me, Isaiah? Because my
Yeah,
eyes are trouble and I'm
absolutely.
too vain to wear glasses.
The Festus News Network. I love that. The
Nice.
Festus
FNN,
News
I like it.
Network, right? Exclusive Mo Data Center press conference live from Jefferson City at 10:30 a.m. today. Festus News Network has been invited to the Missouri Capitol building to cover a statewide press conference held by grassroots movements across Missouri who are opposing irresponsible hyperscale data centers in their communities. I love that he said hyperscale because a lot of
That's the
people
difference.
they try to paint us as these crazy people that think we just hate all data centers. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So we'll follow up on that. If you're in Jefferson City and you want to protest against the revolution of AI data centers and storing your data from now until forever, so the government and people associated with the government can make a profile of you and store it for the rest of your life. I would think in Isaiah. I was talking to my son last night, and we were having dinner, and a waitress comes up and starts talking to my son, and she starts talking about the things they do with her kid. He goes, easy, that's my dad right there, because they were talking about crazy stuff he did when he was younger. And I started thinking to myself, I cannot imagine what people could paint me with if they saw me when I was 21, 22, 23 years old, the things that I used to do when I was a
You don't
young.
want a flock camera following you around everywhere?
Could you imagine if they could make a profile of the things that you did when you were that age? And
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a protest going on in Jefferson City today at 10:30. Then we have a couple stories that I want to touch on. Let's go to number 5, just very quickly, and we'll talk about them throughout the week. I really want to have prepare for Dr. Sheba. That's where the focus is today. Love having him on, and you're mad at me for not promoting it, but it was last minute. Isaiah is my manager, and he goes, Rob, I don't want to have to keep explaining this to you because you're getting to the age where you're starting to annoy me just a little bit. When I tell you need to promote the show, you got to promote the show. And I said, I know, but this was last minute. Okay, don't go into it because we got half an hour before Dr. Sheba.
Let's do it. I got it.
Number 5 is Massey. Okay, now Sherry, who's a member of People's Lobby Missouri and a friend of mine, she said, Rob, we predicted this a long time ago, and here it is. Thomas Massey. I like the Freedom Caucus. This is Thomas Massey, Congressman Thomas Massey, talking about combining in legislation FISA 702 and the Save America Act. The Save America Act says only American citizens can vote in elections. Wow, that's a revelation. We cannot get the government of this country to pass legislation that only Americans can vote in their own elections. Think about that for a second. I'll leave it there. But you can't get the uniparty to pass that legislation. But what do they want to do to pass it? They want to tie it to something that's unconstitutional, and Donald Trump is behind it. Okay, so these are the things when I say Donald Trump he's exposed everything. I want to give him credit for exposing everything. But why would you want to tie legislation that says if you want only Americans to vote in your elections, we'll give that to you. And in order to give that to you, we're going to pass FISA 702, which means the government can spy on you illegally against your Fourth Amendment protections. You tell me. I'm just going to leave it there. But here's what Thomas Massey had to say. He says, I like the Freedom Caucus, but attaching the SAVE Act to warrantless spying is dumb. Why would we, the government, why would we let the government spy on us in exchange for anything? After we trade the Fourth Amendment for parliamentary advantage, what shall we trade the First Amendment and Second Amendment for? This is from Thomas Massey. I want you to think about that and how crazy that is, and ask yourself, is Fox News explaining it like that? Is CNN, who hates Donald Trump, are they explaining it like that? Is ABC, CBS, NBC, MS Now, or any of the major corporate outlets explaining it to you like that? And the answer, of course, will be no. All right,
President Trump says, I'm against FISA if it doesn't come with the Save America Act. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. But you can't convince people that something's amiss. You just can't do it. So I give up.
I give up.
I do. I give up. I every time I am, anytime that I'm critical, people just pound away at me.
I saw your funny response to my post last night about the whole FISA 702. What did you say?
Oh yeah.
What did you say? I was laughing. I gotta find it now.
BS. I'm starting to.
You said BS. It was like BS or something.
Totally. All right, now I got to get to this because this is a big one, and we'll talk about this as we move on down the line here. It's clip number 9 or post number 9. Yeah. So this came to me this morning. Somebody from People's Lobby Missouri sent this to me, and I want to walk through this very quickly because we're going to be talking about it a lot, and this is going to really upset the Missouri GOP because I continue to say that the establishment of the Missouri Republican Party is fraudulent, just like the Republican parties in states around America. That's why we had Chris Gleason on. What I'm trying to do is show the people of Missouri, show the people of Florida, show the people of California, show the people of Wisconsin, show the people of Michigan. It's all done the same way. Different avenues to take you there, but you are being controlled. You're being lied to. You do not have a representative government. Fact. Wait a minute, Isaiah.
That's the fact, Jack. That's a fact, Jack.
That's why I played Bryant Wolfen. And this is on the second email I sent to you, Isaiah, if you can't find it.
I got it right here. Sorry, I was waiting for you to.
All right. Popped it up. Okay. Can you read that?
Yep. So on the post Rob put over here on the side, I know it's a little small for everyone, but I wanted the picture here to be bigger for us. He said, Missouri Inc. Now, does it make sense why the Missouri Republican Party chooses the gatekeeper of all legislation, the speaker, before the speaker is reelected? Alex Riley has already announced he'll be the next Speaker of the House after John Patterson. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
So that's
These
my
are the
post.
top 5 recipients of gambling interest political donations in the 2025-2026 election cycle. And the
Check that
number
out.
one,
Isn't that incredible?
number
Can
one,
you imagine getting $250,000 from proponents of Missouri gambling? Now, I would ask you if you're just little common sense here. Let's just do a little common sense here. All right. So gambling interest are paying off. Start at the top because I want to read these off for people.
Yeah,
If you don't mind,
absolutely.
I apologize. So the gambling interest that want these video electronic gambling systems in the state of Missouri, all right, they are redirecting money through PACs to the most powerful Republicans in the state of Missouri. And then you ask yourself, do you think it's going to pass legislation? I just asked the question. Let's see here. So the Missouri Speaker of the House got $249,000 from the Alliance PAC, $249,000. He's the gatekeeper of all legislation. He's a supposed conservative who was picked by the Republican Party to be their gatekeeper of all legislation, the Speaker of the House. Okay. He was he put a sunset clause on transgender surgery for children. This is a conservative Republican. This is who they picked. All right. He's also the one. What was the other big one for him? He is the one that took the oath to keep the secrets of the House.
Mhm.
Okay. He also he's a doctor. So he said if you did not get the COVID vaccines, you
Right.
should not be able to have organ transplants, which my uncle was trying to get a lung transplant right with, or not a lung, a liver transplant right when this happened. So according to John Patterson, the conservative Speaker of the House that is being promoted by Americans for Prosperity and another conservative grassroots.
Koch brothers.
I think that is so funny, Americans for Prosperity, but whatever.
Yeah.
They are promoting John Patterson. John Patterson, a conservative Speaker of the House, Republican in Missouri, conservative is what they tell us, right? A Republican says that if you did not get the COVID vaccination / genetic therapies, you should not be eligible for life-saving organ transplants. You make sense of that. Now they're going to get gambling into Missouri. And who do the gambling companies start to pay money to? Let's just check it out. They give the most money to John Patterson, the Speaker of the House, $249,000. I'm sure he is as legit as can be, not paid off, not collecting money, not John Patterson. No way. He's the real deal in the state of Missouri. You can bank on it. $249,000 from the Alliance PAC. Guess
That's
who got
never going to influence me at all.
not going to influence me at all. The $250,000 not going to influence me at all. That's what I say to that. Number 2, Governor Mike Kehoe. He's not on the take. Not a chance. Governor Kehoe loves gambling. He's a conservative who wants kids addicted to gambling in the state of Missouri. And I like gambling. I'm not against gambling. I'm against the government getting into gambling. Does that make sense? I don't want the government endorsing marijuana. I don't want the government endorsing gambling. Now, if you want to smoke weed, if you want to do gambling, maybe it should be decriminalized, but doesn't need to be endorsed and paid for by the Missouri government. I submit to you, I do not think so. Number 3, Senator Jason Bean, conservative leadership for Southeast Missouri PAC, gave him $209,000. Isaiah, would you like $209,000? I want $209,000.
We need it for the show.
Exactly. I'm told that Jason Bean, Jason Bean, I got a friend named Joe Bean that I love very much.
Hey, we need a gambling sponsorship, it looks like, Rob.
Absolutely. We're going to have to get in the game. Senator Jason Bean, right? He is predicted to be the next senator the next pro tem for the Senate.
Speaker pro tem, yeah.
So there's the 3 most powerful people in Missouri. You ready for this? Listen to this. The 3 most powerful people in the state of Missouri that legislate and govern you is the governor, Mike Kehoe, John Patterson, the Speaker of the House, and the Senate pro tem, who is it's said is going to be Jason Bean. And those 3 people are getting all the gambling money. Can't make it up. You couldn't make it up if you wanted to because it's too ridiculous. Number 4, Bill Hardwick. I don't know who he is. He got $190,000. And then the new Speaker of the House, who already announced on social media that he is going to be the next Speaker of the House. He hasn't even been reelected yet. Alex Riley and all of the con artists in the state of Missouri go, you like Alex Riley. He's really conservative. He's a great guy, but he also made $166,000 from the gambling industry. And he got it from the Missouri Leadership PAC, $166,000. This is the Missouri GOP. It's a big club, and you ain't. How's it go? It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. They are in the big club. That is why they're in the Missouri government. That's how they make their money. And it is shameful, in my humble opinion. And I'm not going to stop talking about it because I think it is sickening and I think it is disgraceful. I think it's fraudulent. It should be illegal. And maybe someday it will be. That's what's going on in the Missouri Inc., also known as the Republican Party of Missouri. All right. Number 8, Isaiah. We'll run through these quickly and then we'll talk about them later on in the week. Please
I'm
like and
reading
share.
about Bill Hardwick over here. He's kind of an okay guy, but definitely seems very establishment.
They'll take some money if they can.
He pushed back against COVID, so I appreciate that about him. I'll say that. Looks like he did.
He must have got some money from somebody.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. I'm just teasing Bill Hardwick. I don't know anything about you. I just know that 160, 80, $100,000 from gambling into your pack is a little sketchy. That's just my opinion. All right, please like and share. Please like and share. Let's get a couple of these out, Isaiah. People's Lobby. Oh, and then we'll go to, let's do some advertising, and then we'll go to number 8 because I want to touch on that. That's what you talked about yesterday, and I want to talk about it as well, Isaiah. All right, ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Oh, People's Lobby Mo first.
Yeah, I was thinking
Without you Love's in front of me, Isaiah. Give me a break. All right. People's Lobby. I'm all fired up today.
I love it.
Lobby.
You're just excited about Dr. Shiva. That's what it is.
I'm excited because all of the things that I could talk about they're so right in front of your face that I'm trying to figure out if these Republicans are going to argue with me about it. I don't think they can argue with me about it anymore. It's just blatant. And I wonder if they're going to run. I wonder if they'll have conversations with us. We're going to get to them one way or another. I'm going to find you. I'm going to get you one way. All right. I'll sing the whole song if you want me to.
It's a great. We gotta make an AI video of you like that coming after the Republican Party.
All right.
Chasing down Governor Kehoe, right?
Yeah, exactly. peopleslobbymo.com. Very important. peopleslobbymo.com. Join us if you want to be want to donate to us. We'd love it. We need the donations because we are going to be your voice. If you are somebody who believes in better government, accountability in your government through pressure is the only way to do it. When you are stealing elections and when you own the media, the only thing you can do is pressure your elected representatives at the state and local level, or you're cooked. That's the only thing you can do. You have to start a movement in order to make things happen, period. Dr. Shiva is going to talk about that today. Please join us at peopleslobbymo.com. If you can donate, we would love it. If you can't, just sign up so you can stay in contact with us. And as things start to develop, it might take us a year, 2 years, 5 years. It doesn't matter. We are a relentless group of people, and we will make things happen. Promise you, we will make things happen one way or another. We are going to make things happen. peopleslobbymo.com. Join us. All right, let me get a couple of advertisers in here very quickly. I was on the phone yesterday with Larry Evans, great guy, ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Again, if you need a new roof, when the hail's coming, out there you got an old house with that funky roof and it's starting to leak in the corners, and at some point you're going to need a new roof. When it's time for a new roof, it is ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Roofing, siding, decks, gutters, garage doors, custom exterior metal, doesn't matter. He is your guy, somebody you can trust, somebody who actually will not bend you over and take your money. He will be honest with you. He'll give you a great roof. He'll do great work, and he'll give you the best price imaginable. ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Larry Evans, great guy, 30 years in the business, used to build homes. Now he focuses on roofs, but he is the general contractor for the Robb Carter Show. Roofing, siding, decks, gutters, garage doors, custom exterior metal. One big advantage to Larry Evans is he's also an independent insurance adjuster. So when he tells you that insurance companies will work to replace your roof, he means it. Other people, when they knock on your door and tell you something like that, they have no idea whether the insurance companies are going to work with you or not. It is their job to get you into their system so they can begin to sell you. That's a fact.
That's the fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
ECS Roofing and Exteriors, Larry Evans, 314-486-3567. ECS Roofing, 314-486-3567. And you can check out his work on Facebook. I think he's building a website now, but you can check him out on Facebook at ECS Roofing and Exteriors. GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. One more time for the people in back. GraceHauling.com. Outstanding customer service, competitive pricing. You're going to see the cans and the trucks and the dumpsters all over St. Charles County. And you'd say, well, why, Rob? Why does everybody want to do business with Grace Hauling? It's because they're great people with a great business. They'll take care of you. GraceHauling.com. All things rubbish, all things trash, commercial, residential, doesn't matter. If you're a commercial customer, 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters, established in 1998, been around a long time. Great, great, great man. Everybody knows Gary Schneider. Terrific people. And if you're a residential customer, if you have any kind of trash pickup, recyclables, yard waste, or bulk pickups, you got to get in touch with GraceHauling.com. 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 Let's go to Rocket Careers. Rocket Careers, another great advertiser. Mitch has been with me for a long time. Mitch, by the way, we've known each other since high school, so I'm giving a personal endorsement for him as well. RocketCareers.com. All those big corporate entities that they compete with for job placement, work with somebody who will take care of you. A personal friend of mine that I've known forever, Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. Small to medium-sized businesses, if you don't have a human resources division or you need one, they'll just take that job right away from them. They will get good people before you so that you can hire great individuals to make your business better. And just as important, if you're somebody looking for work, you're out of work, you're panicking, bills are coming due, you don't have a job, give these guys a call. If you hate your job, if you're sitting in a cubicle right now and you just can't take it anymore, or maybe you're in your 60s and you're still doing construction and your back and your neck and everything's falling apart and you think, man, I would just like to do something where I can make this amount of money and sit in an air-conditioned office because it's time for me to get out of the hot sun, call these guys. RocketCareers.com. My good friends, Mitch and Brian, you can reach them at 636-778-2419. 636-778-2419. We choose best in class. That's what we look for. Small businesses with great people who won't, you know what I'm saying, won't bend you over. I just like to say bend you over because it gives
Yeah.
the, I don't know if that's a good thing to say or not, but that's what a lot of these people do. They try to get every single nickel and dime they can out of you. They think that's good business. Our guys think good business is taking care of you at a reasonable and fair price and give you great service. RocketCareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com, 636-778-2419. And because we got Dr. Shiva coming up, let's get one more out of the way. Okay. When it's time for an oil change, who we going to? Who we going? I say it.
Tony Clark, baby.
Express Care, baby. Who we going to? We're going to Valvoline Express Care, Valvoline-expresscare.com if you want coupons. Valvoline-expresscare.com if you want coupons. Again, best in class. Been in this business his whole life. He said, Rob, when I started my own operation through Valvoline, I said, what do people complain about most? They complain about it takes too long to get an oil change, and they're always trying to upsell me. He said, so I took it away. I said, 15 minutes from bay to on your way, no appointments and no sales pressure. So people aren't going to be hounding you to upgrade certain things in your car when you're simply going in for an oil change. Valvoline Express Care, our good friend Tony Clark, locations in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Highland, Illinois, Troy, Illinois, Lemay Ferry Road, Warrenton, Missouri, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, and St. Peter's Parkway. Again, if you can't remember that because you're driving in your car and you're listening to us from somewhere that you can't write it all down, just simply go to Valvoline-expresscare.com for the locations. If I do not see that sticker in your car, how in the world can we possibly be friends? All right, Isaiah, let's get back to what you posted today and something that I wanted to talk about. I know we have a lot to get through before Dr. Shiva shows up. Again, please, 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 if you can, for us, like and share. Don't just share. You got to like, because yesterday, as we said,
18 views on my post right now with Dr. Shiva's picture in it.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's just incredible. I knew today would be tough, and that's why I said, you go, Rob, you should have promoted this. I said, Dr. Shiva is the most censored man in America.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to find us. It just is what it is. But we'll get the clips out there. We'll make it happen. But if you can, please like and share what we have to say. Like and share. Big show today with Dr. Shiva. You're going to learn a ton from Dr. Shiva. And he's going to entertain you. Dr. Shiva is very entertaining. Go ahead, Isaiah.
No, just love this. Sean said, who else here is financially supporting the People's Lobby every month? If you aren't throwing them at least $5 a month, you don't really care.
I would agree.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. We didn't say it. Sean said,
well, look, here are the people that actually are trying to do the work. And trust me when I tell you, it's not easy. You got to have really thick skin to do what I'm doing, what Isaiah's doing, and what the people associated with People's Lobby Mo are doing. The people for Act for Missouri, what they're doing. Act for Missouri, can you imagine going to the Capitol and you're reporting on your own party, the Republican Party, and you're showing the malfeasance within the Republican Party. You're showing people the inside the engine. You're showing people behind the curtain of what happens in the Missouri Republican Party. You know that everybody's staring at you. You know that everybody hates your guts when you walk into the building, and they do it anyway. Act for Missouri. Then you have the Shield Maidens who are trying to they have their own podcast. They tell everybody what's going on within the Republican Party, and they're hated. They are absolutely hated. You know who they're not hated by, though, Isaiah?
The people.
The good Republicans. I'm going to be out at Osage tomorrow emceeing a Republican event. I don't hate everybody in the Republican Party. I'm just simply saying that if you want our endorsement, if you want us to pay attention to you, if you want good press from us, then you have to report on your own party. You can't simply say it's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. Oh, everybody's a Democrat. Everybody who disagrees is a Democrat. No. You have to take care of your own business. Okay. The Republican Party and the structure of the Republican Party and how it works in Missouri is just ridiculous to me. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. It's fraudulent. You should not be picking the Speaker of the House before that person has ever even been elected and then get $166,000 to promote gambling interest as a conservative Republican. That's my take on it. Okay.
It's ironic that it's all on the heels of the gambling machines being banned. I don't know if you know about that, but they're banned here. Big problem here in St. Clair. So we just renewed everyone's liquor licenses for the year at our Board of Aldermen meeting this week. And I'm not going to call them out by name, but one of the establishments that we renewed the liquor licenses for, I was asking about. I was like, hey, is there any liability for us for renewing their liquor license? Because they're the only place in town that still has the gambling machines operating, and they're not supposed to.
I know.
And they're like, nope, not our, it's not liable. It comes down from the state. We don't have to enforce it at all. And so I was like, okay. So apparently the state's bringing the hammer down is what it is.
Gambling. I'm a gambler, Isaiah. I've been gambling since I was a kid.
It's probably because they're not regulated. Yeah. They don't have their hand in it enough. They need more control. And once they have more control, then they'll let us have it, right?
Well, what I love about it is, and what I find interesting about I'm talking about the money behind the Republican Party, not the representatives necessarily, but the money behind the Republican Party. And now I start to see it. I see the Republican Party saying the same thing. We have to grow the tax base. We have to get tax. We have to get more taxes, bring in more taxes. I'm like, I thought you were the small government party. Now everything that creates some money in taxes, you got to have. I'm like, wait a minute. When I was growing up, which was a long time ago, let's be honest, Isaiah, right? But it was a long time ago. When I was growing up, the Republican Party talked about shrinking the government, making it small. Now we gotta have more people in Missouri, because what we want more than anything is more people in Missouri. We need everybody to come to Missouri so they can crowd our streets and crowd our schools and raise more tax money so they can allocate it to their buddies.
Don't you like the free market, Rob? I thought you're conservative. The free market, free enterprise. Come on.
Right. It's free market. All right. It's free market if you know somebody in politics. You get the market is free to the people that have the ear of the people making legislation. That's where it's coming from. All right. I want to get to this too, because this is another great story. Number 8, Isaiah. This is what you put out yesterday. I thought it was fantastic.
Ready to go.
Pop it up.
Okay. So right on time. And I said this last week, they couldn't reauthorize FISA for warrantless spying on the American people, President Trump, everybody else. It's not used to keep us safe from terror. So I said last week, look for some big foiled terror plots. That's what the FBI does every time they're trying to repass or pass legislation that takes our liberties. And that's what's going on. And so we wake up this morning, why a giant plot with 20 drones to attack the White House and to drive the crowds out where their snipers were going to be waiting and killing them. And the Cobra Commander was going to come down by helicopters. And then it turns out it's a bunch of Antifa running their mouths, one guy talking about it with a bunch of feds on a message board. But Kash Patel broke it, and he's a hero protecting us, and we got to pass FISA.
Come to save the day.
And to show that Trump isn't even read in on this, they keep him out of it. I know how it works. He's out saying today, I don't want FISA. FISA was used to spy on me. Let's get rid of it. And the American people don't want it. They were spied on. I was spied on with it. That's declassified for years and years and years and years and years. Of course, they didn't find anything because there is nothing.
I just want to get that
and
blurb out of the way, because what he's talking about is apparently, if you're a Fox News watcher, you already know this. But if you're not a Fox News watcher, you may not know this. The FBI foiled a drone attack on the White House during the UFC front yard battle mania. And again, as predicted, this is what happens when they want to pass the warrantless searches. All of a sudden, out of the blue, the story comes out on corporate press that the FBI solved this big plot to save America from the bad guys. They do it every single effing time. It's embarrassing. If you're paying attention to the news, you see it. If you just don't pay attention because you're too busy trying to survive in this life and put food on the table and gas in your tank, you don't recognize this. But if you follow it every day, it's impossible to miss. Every time they want to pass FISA 702, unconstitutional warrants on American citizens, unconstitutional searches on American citizens without a warrant, I guess I should say, all of a sudden the big news comes out that the FBI foiled a big plot because they were spying on us. It's just maddening that it continues to happen. But again, just saying, Alex Jones is on it. As soon as I saw that, I sent it to my friends. I was making fun of people that were spreading that message on on social media yesterday. I kept putting the eye roll emoji on it, and I said, "Oh yeah, Cash Patel is coming to save the day. The legend, Cash Patel, Superman, Cash Patel with the crazy
Team
eyes."
America.
I'm telling you, I saw Cash Patel. I met him, and I'm just telling you, Cash Patel is an idiot. I'm telling you, I met him in person. I watched him give a speech. He's an absolute imbecile, running the FBI. That's what he is, with the crazy eyes and the nonsense. If you remember when the hockey team was winning, he went in and he's running around like he's 12 years old. He's the FBI director. He goes, "Oh, I love him because he loves the hockey team. I love the hockey team." So therefore, Cash Patel, who's drunk inside the locker room with all the hockey players, he's just like me. He's not supposed to be just like you. He's the freaking FBI director. He's supposed to be a serious person paying attention to national security, and he's a puppet, just like Dan Bongino, just like Mark Levin, just like Shapiro. They're all puppets of the establishment, some in tech, some in press, some in banking. They're all puppets working together against your better interest. Isaiah, one more time.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
All right, Dr. Shiva's coming on. Let's get you set up with Dr. Shiva, if you don't mind. Let's go to number 3 real fast, Isaiah. So this is what Dr. Shiva and I were talking about. He had a court case. Okay, Dr. Shiva had a court case yesterday, but this is what the court case was about. Dr. Shiva is running for Senate in Massachusetts. He has a nationwide grassroots bottom-up organization to organize people so that they can take control of their government again. That's why he's censored. That's why we're censored. That's why anybody who does this gets censored. If you're trying to organize people, that's when you get censored. That's when they limit your freedom of reach, if you will. This is what Dr. Shiva has to say on X yesterday. And I think 7 people got to see it. I'm one of them. Every American should be asking, why is @real Donald Trump and civil rights doing nothing to prosecute secretaries of state who defy 52 USC 20701 by auto-deleting ballot images? And he's going to explain how this con in your elections works. And you got to spread the message to people if you want a free society. He goes on to say, it is because that's how both Democrats and Republicans collude to cover up election fraud. That's how they do it. This is how we do it. Where do I have that song? I think I do have that with someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And crazy that I never see Dr. Shiva's posts.
No,
even though I follow him. Yeah.
Nobody can see our posts.
Look, this one got actually 1,000 views. Wow.
He's got 300,000 followers. He gets 1,500 views, right? For something he put out yesterday, probably, or hours ago at the very end. When did he put that one out? Did it say?
This was 8:32 p.m. last night. Yeah.
Right. My neighbor, who's a mailman, when he sees something on TV that he likes, he gets 1,500 views. A guy running for Senate with 4 degrees from MIT talks about election fraud. He gets 1,500 views. It's just incredible. And that's what we're getting. I was telling somebody the other day, the first show that we did, right? The first show that we did before the algorithm started to take over, we had 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people watching. Now when we start, it's 100, 200 people. Now it grows throughout the day. Don't get me wrong, because people seek us out, but it ain't rolling through the feeds like it was when we started. Now that they've made the profile of us, now it's a whole different ball game. All right, let's go to clip number 2. This is the court case that he's talking about.
All right. Big win. I just got the judge to accelerate an emergency hearing tomorrow, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As a Senate candidate this year, I sued government of Massachusetts to force them to preserve ballot images. The state opposed and tried to push the case to 2029. I caught them lying under perjury on the core election integrity issue. Massachusetts admits it configures voting machines to auto-delete digital ballot images. Wow. As an MIT PhD systems engineer, I'm laying out the hard physics to the court. Scanners can't count votes without creating those images first.
There he is. I see Dr. Shiva on the screen. Let's bring Dr. Shiva in. He's one of my favorite of all time.
Awesome. Doesn't look like his video's on yet.
It was. I just saw him for a minute, so let's pop him on.
We'll wait for until he joins. He's not ready yet. He's his mic and everything. There we go. Awesome.
He'll know how to run the tech. Dr. Shiva, there he is. Dr. Shiva, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How's everything?
Great to see you're my favorite guest. I tell everybody for the last 5 years that when I had you on, I tell everybody, Dr. Shiva, I did not know what you were talking about. You put out a video long ago talking about Zionism. I didn't know what you were even talking about. I had heard the word Zionism. For me, what Zionism meant was that you thought Israel had the right to exist, and that was it. That's what Zionism meant. And you said, no. You started to explain it to me. I got on the radio, and I started really paying attention to the news. I mean, at a really high level where you're 8 to 10 hours a day going through social media, watching how Fox News does news presentations, watching how CNN does it. And I started to recognize that you were right. And it's never been more evident that the guy who told me originally that Zionist ideology was running not only this country, but probably the world, you were right on the money. The first one to tell me that, and I've been a fan of yours ever since. I watch you. You and I were talking about on the phone the other day, and we got plenty of time. Got an hour and a half with you if you want it. So you get as much time as you want. And we're going to try and organize together, right? We're going to organize your group with my group. We'll bring people in. I get suppressed just like you do, so it's a little harder effort to get it done on social media. But you said, Rob, anybody who's trying to organize, that's when you get yourself into a little bit of trouble. If you want to be a mouthpiece like Tucker Carlson, if you want to be a mouthpiece like some of these people on social media that get these big audiences, they let you do it. So long as you're not trying to organize anybody, that's when things start to change. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the discussion we had was that, my entire life has been trying to figure out how you end these systems of oppression, Rob. So it's not theoretical for me, because having grown up in the Indian caste system, which is really you see, Zionism is at the core of Zionism, and Zionism manifests itself in other isms throughout the world. So Zionism's fundamental view is that a small set of people have the authority and the right to rule over everyone else. And they have that authority because they're so much smarter or better for some manufactured reason. So in the West, starting with Theodore Herzl, that was known as Zionism. In ancient India, that was known as Brahmanism, right? You've had other manifestations of it, Nazism, right? But this whole concept of, and it's always linked to taking some political ideology and mixing it with some religious philosophy, you say? And putting those together is typically done to emotionally move people. So that's like the core of it. And it's a way of ultimately these ways are a way of mentally justifying exploitation of a small set of people over other people. And then you pound away at this through propaganda. So you're basically manipulating people to say that it's okay to be exploited. Does that make sense? So that's where this comes from. And it's sort of well organized. So whoever wants to stay in power. So hold on one second. I'm gonna go lay down.
Dog lovers are fine on our.
So what happens is that, imagine if you are a king with one or two of you guys who are ruling over 10,000 people. All right, if you could just imagine that. You have your castle, your moat. Your biggest concern is the fact that one day you may be overthrown, right? Like, that you have all this ill-gotten wealth, and how do you protect yourself? Well, one way is physical protection, right? You build the moat, you build physical infrastructure, weapons, you pay soldiers, mercenaries. The other much more powerful one is you have to create a ideology, brainwash people to justify the concept that you are a peasant and you live outside of the castle and you should be happy you live outside of that castle, okay? And that your lot in life is the way it should be, and thank God you have that, right? So the religious systems did this in many, many different ways. So Hinduism, for example, had this very core, beautiful set of ideas, right? But Brahmanism said, okay, your lot in life is to be a toilet cleaner for the rest of your life. That was a caste job. Or pick coconuts. That was another job. And by doing that, you are burning off your karma from some sins from your past life. It's all just made up bullshit, okay? And then they created beautiful songs and beautiful poetry, all the propaganda to make people feel good as they were getting screwed.
Mhm.
So every religion has sort of this beautiful core. And then when those in power, the few who are trying to keep all their wealth, inside their moat, took these very powerful philosophies and they created an elitist model of those philosophies to justify oppression. You have the Catholic Church. These guys wearing these robes and stuff and living in the Vatican, living very large, and then telling the rest of them, Jesus died for your sins, and therefore, give some communion and all this stuff, and you should all be happy. But we get to live over here, which would be a life that Jesus would never have supported. And somehow this is brainwashed to people, and you have all these Catholics supporting that, just like you have these Hindus supporting the priesthood. Zionism was another manifestation of that, taking Old Testament stuff and then imbuing it with the concept of a political ideology, and this is what goes on. But it's a way of convincing a large number of people that the few should rule over you. That's sort of the core systems dynamics of this, Rob. So what we teach at Truth, Freedom, Health, and a lot of what my goal is, if you want to liberate people, you have to understand the processes that are involved to do that. And that's been a lifelong study. No different, Rob, than if you want to understand how do you build an airplane. I mean, my background is in engineering. But in engineering, if you want to build an airplane, get it off the ground and fly, you can't just sort of think that and will that or be a podcaster. You see what I'm saying? Talking about how to do that. You have to actually go figure out how to do that. So you wouldn't just say, well, birds are flying. Let's do a podcast on birds, or let's talk about the wind. If you want to build this vehicle, you have to go do a series of things. You have to understand what it takes to do that. What are the engineering science? What it would take to build that? How would you bring people together to, let's say you wanted to create the airplane industry, all that, right? It's a very complex system. No different than if you wanted to create a world where you wanted to create, a healthcare system or an energy system. These are complex engineering systems problems. So when it comes to changing the world, how do you do that? Well, the people who've been involved, who've monopolized that activity, have been philosophers, lawyers, religious people. And my life, in addition to the other engineering areas that I enjoy doing and contributions that I've made, has been taking the same systems approach, engineering systems approach to that. And what you find out is any technology, any innovation always starts from understanding some physical process, and then you create technology to be able to scale that. So I'll give you an example. So many of us use spreadsheets, right? Like Excel well, that technology is a reflection of a physical business process when people used to have paper ledgers, right? For doing accounting. And then we created the spreadsheet, which was a electronic manifestation of that. And once you did that, anyone could become an accountant. Before, another example is if you take something like publishing, right? Creating a flyer or a brochure or an ad. Well, historically, you may remember this, right? You had a big drafting pad,
right?
Paper. You would have to make your own fonts. And I remember these days, and you would have to do this by hand. And then one day, a company called Apple put this product called Publisher, right? On the Mac. And so you could do this through a technology, but you were literally emulating a physical process. And overnight, forget how good they were, but overnight, anyone could be a graphic designer. Similarly, when I created email was a physical process. It wasn't the simple exchange of text messages. it was a very complex process where a secretary would sit at a computer. She had the inbox, the outbox, the folders, right? I took that and made it the electronic version, but you were taking us, there was a scientific process there. Now think about what it takes to change the world. Is it fucker Carlson? Excuse my language. Tucker Carlson just.
We're on a podcast now. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Is it just him saying shit, making his faces, which is all very, very artificial? And if you really look at him, he has no interest in changing the world. He has an interest in accumulating wealth for himself and getting views and clicks. There's some very interesting analysis, John. From first he was at CNN, then he goes to Fox, then he supposedly lost a lot of money from Fox, goes to TCN. By the way, he's being funded by the same Iranian billionaire who funds JD Vance. But his entire trajectory has nothing to do with changing the world. And if you think he's changing the world, and if you think he's being of service, he says some good stuff, that entire thinking process comes from an absolutely mistaken view of what it takes to change the world. So my life has been, in addition to understanding these other processes and innovating, what does it actually take to change the world at a fundamental level? What does it take to liberate yourself, which is a business problem that people have been trying to figure out since they were slaves in chains. And I've cracked the code on that problem. And that involves three fundamental components coming together, no different than email involves inbox, outbox, folders. You need these fundamental things, right? An airplane needs some fundamental processes, right? Well, those processes are three things. Throughout the history of humankind, where people have been trying to liberate themselves from oppression, the slaves have been trying to figure out, like, how do you do that? Well, there have been different theories, capital T, not lowercase t. There was a theory of John Locke and the classical liberals. Well, we live in this society. This is a theory. This is a theoretical framework. And ultimately, government is formed as a social contract. We're one big kumbaya. And, ultimately, we all want to work together, etc. That's one theory, right? And that resulted in what you call today modern bourgeois democracy. And other theories developed. I'm trying to really understand it. The theory of fascism was that a central group should actually rule over a large number of people. Anti-democratic, but again, a view of how the world should operate. But there's been, throughout this process, philosophers typically are the ones who monopolize this discourse on the theoretical framework of how society should be organized. But the reality is these are ideas in people's heads. They're not the reality of how the world operates. The world operates on systems principles. And there are fundamental principles that the world operates on. And those principles are invariant. The same principles that operate in that leaf outside my window, to the same systems principles operate inside your body, operate in galaxies, etc. Those principles are in engineering system science, Rob, which were really discovered, probably in the late 1920s in modern science and in the 1950s. Those principles were understood thousands of years ago in Indian systems of medicine. So I was able to bridge these two worlds. And what I recognized was there are these 9 principles that you learn in MIT in engineering control systems. They use a set of languages, terms that were used 10,000 years ago. These engineering principles govern the laws of how everything in the universe operates. Now, I used to teach that at MIT, but I could teach that to anyone. Once you understand those principles, you actually have a theoretical framework, the slaves, on how this whole system operates. It's not based on John Locke. It's not based on Karl Marx. It's not based on Mussolini's, advisor. It's based, because these are just ideas that people made up out of their head. These are based on actual fundamental laws where the rubber meets the road. And those engineering principles are invariant. So you have to have an understanding of that if you're actually going to go change this world. Now, the elites actually know these engineering principles. And that is why a few set of people, you have to really wonder, why is it like 100,000 people are able to manipulate 8 billion people? This is the first thing slaves need to ask. how is it they are able to manipulate me? And that is because they understand engineering control systems principles. When you go to MIT or Harvard or these institutions, or the Kennedy, you learn these principles, but you're not using those principles to advance human life. You're using that, ultimately you join major government organizations and you use those engineering principles to manipulate people. Those principles are 9 principles about how you can observe how a system operates. You can manipulate the goal of that system, one of the features of the 9. You can look at the sensors, data that you're getting, and then how you can manipulate inputs to manipulate the force of transport, conversion, storage. I'm not going to, we teach all of this at Truth, Freedom, Health, but throughout history, it's typically been one hero emerges, a Malcolm X or some fighter, and then they get knocked off and they become martyrs because they sort of came to certain conclusions, but they couldn't replicate it. You see? It's like you built the first airplane, but you don't know how to build another airplane again. But when you understand engineering systems principles, you really understand how this world operates, number one. So you need to have the right theory. Number 2, to change the world, you need to have a community of people, organizational structure. It's not just going to poof happen because an opportunist like Thomas Massey suddenly decides that he's now anti-Zionist and he didn't say shit for 20 years, 30 years suddenly, and therefore he becomes the new hero that everyone's following, or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Bernie Sanders, etc. These people are just grifters who are just latching on to some trend that they're seeing to manipulate people to stay part of the swarm. But ultimately, the notion of changing the world comes to building a community of people who understand this theoretical framework. And you have to have a core set of people understand this, want to dedicate themselves to understanding it. They educate others and they raise people's consciousness. That's a community. And then the third thing you need is action. What's the purpose of that action? Well, in my view, ultimately, all of this changes when you raise people's consciousness to understanding and self-reflect on how their system of oppression works. Action is prescribed, no different than a good doctor prescribing the right medicine. Action is prescribed to a student so they have an experience so they can raise their consciousness. I'll give you a very practical example. When people come to our movement, we tell them to go hand out flyers. Now, why do we tell them to do that? Because the existing system has brainwashed people to think that changing the world comes from Tucker Carlson or some podcaster, Joe Rogan. They don't want people to go into the world, put down their phones and all this shit, have a conversation with a stranger, another human being. They don't want people to engage with the world. They want people to do podcasts, thinking they're changing the world. But when you go out and you put yourself out there, and it's shy and nervous, and you're handing out a flyer, you have to get over your nervousness. Out of 1,000 people that pass by, 2 people may pick it up, and now you have a conversation with them. All right? And that conversation now is connected you to another human being. You do that over and over again, and now you understand that you can actually go affect someone's life with a simple 1-cent piece of paper. All right? That is an action. Another thing is you can educate people through a series of actions, how that action starts creating an emerging pattern that you can have an effect on other people, okay? So in order to really liberate the world, just like in any other framework, you need certain, components, right? If you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation, if you're going to create a presentation, you need to have fonts and you need to have a canvas and you need to have the ability to change colors. Well, if you're going to change the world, you need theory, community, and action. Theory, community, and action. These are fundamental pillars. Now, people who haven't actually ever built anything in their lives, don't have a trade school, a trade or an engineering experience, they really don't understand this because they've never done the work. Anyone who, does plumbing or engineering or an electrician knows that you can't just go and start wiring shit around the house. You need to understand voltage and amps and resistance. You need to understand the physics of things. Yet people think that Tucker Carlson, I want to use him as an example, or Joe Rogan are changing the world. These people aren't doing anything. They're self-serving people who are created by your oppressor to just talk shit about shit that people like me are actually doing but they never talk about it when the events are taking place because it would help change the world. They come as Monday night quarterbacks, if that. They delay truth. Tucker Carlson talking about 9/11 now, and suddenly he's against Israel. Well, really? It took him this long? No. Or Candace Owens. All these people are opportunists. They will never get their hands dirty and do the work it takes to actually change the world, which is you need to understand the theoretical framework. You need to build a community, organizational structure, which takes effort. And you need to get on the ground and take actual concrete actions, okay? Unless that is done, nothing happens. It's just pure bullshit. But people get so brainwashed into thinking I'm changing the world by doing a podcast. That's on the naive side. But on the much more deliberate side, the establishment is very clever. They know that human beings operate on 3 levels of intelligence. They know this. They've done the work. On the basis level of laziness, the 7 deadly sins, not wanting to do shit, thinking someone else is going to do it. And the religious structure supports that. Jesus died for your sins. That's bullshit. Complete lack of personal responsibility. I don't think Jesus ever said that. Or the Hindu thing, right? Don't worry, just do your lot in life. This is your karma. So they create these philosophy to brainwash people to maintain in the lowest level of intelligence, which is called instinctive intelligence. The next level above that is intellectual intelligence, right? Where you learn how to manipulate numbers or write lawsuits, right? Be rational, play chess. But the highest form of intelligence is intuition, wisdom. They don't want people ever to go to that level. So they keep people at this very base level of intelligence. And this is done through distractions. And that distraction is making sure that the masses, all those peasants outside the moat, never break the walls by continually never teaching them theory of how the world actually operates, never making sure that they build community, never make sure they actually take action. By making sure they watch UFC fights, they get distracted by complete opportunist politicians and, media personalities. And that is how they contain people. And part of this containment, as we teach in our movement, is the obvious establishment, which are your obvious oppressors. In some ways, those guys are actually straightforward. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to, do this to you, right? But the not so obvious establishment is how the establishment succeeds. So in the United States, you have the Democrats and Republicans, the obvious, let's say, wings of them, the Lindsey Grahams or the Clintons, the obvious versions. But then you have the not so obvious versions. And this is where, without understanding the physics, every 5 years, people say, oh my God, Thomas Massie, I'm going to follow him. He's anti-Zionist. Isn't he getting persecuted? Oh my God, Bernie Sanders, he's the fighter against the establishment. And you go back, okay? So the establishment thrives on creating the not so obvious establishment. You have to wonder if these people are truly anti-establishment, why are they getting airtime?
I agree.
Why
I agree. I see the same thing. Yep, right? I see the same thing, Doctor.
And if you're dumb enough to think Thomas Massie is not an opportunist, this goes down to you didn't understand theory. No different than a person thinking he's an electrician and sticking their hands in a plug, okay? Because they just saw someone else do that, okay? But they didn't understand maybe he only put one finger and the other was grounded. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to politics, the only way the slaves are going to get off is by theory, community, and action. And that's the framework and you can't do this overnight. So the movement is built. The infrastructure is built. And that's Truth, Freedom, Health. No different than when I built email. No different than when I built Cytosol. It is an innovation. It is a platform. it is technology, it's software, it's community. That is the only way we're going to liberate the world. So it's not going to happen through MAGA. It's not going to happen through suddenly awakening themselves even to be anti-Zionist. Okay? And remember, right when I've been fighting Zionism for 40 years. When I did that one video, I'm the only candidate who does not suck Zionist cock. If you remember that, it went viral. Yep. And then suddenly Dan Bilzerian, suddenly Jake Shields, suddenly everyone's anti-Zionist, including Candace fucking Owen, who's an opportunist. The biggest thing that you can understand is in engineering or any field of engineering, there's called signal to noise ratio. Okay? The actual signal, you can graph it, and the noise. The establishment never wants you to see the actual signal. So they create a lot of noise. And that noise is to distract you away from actually figuring out the physics of building a movement. And the word movement has also been plagiarized because they use the word movement to mean come to my site, subscribe to me, watch my videos.
Right.
That's not a fucking movement. All right. A movement must have the right theory, an organizational structure, and action. That's what 50 years later, that's what we've created. We have a global organization, all working people from throughout the world, 130 different languages. Those people have to go through a disciplined process, right? Don't talk to me about all sorts of shit. Did you study the physics of system science? If you didn't, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a babe in the woods. Just like a good teacher would say, you're going to try to build an airplane and you didn't even understand Bernoulli's principle. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Shut the fuck up and learn this first. So we're not doing that. Everyone with a microphone overnight, great, you can have an opinion, First Amendment, but it doesn't mean you know what the fuck you're talking about when it comes to changing the world. So you have to start with understanding the system's dynamics. Let me tell you, Peter Thiel and the elites, they understand this. That's why they graduate people out of MIT and Harvard and they join them because they understand the concept of a goal, the concept of sensors, the concepts of a controller, the concept of input, output, transport, conversion, storage, signal to noise ratio. So the elites, using that systems framework, they manipulate people to never build a true movement. I'll give you an example. I wrote this book just now, a couple of months ago called Deportation Theater. Notice every election cycle, what's a big issue they bring up, Rob? Immigration. Immigration, yep. Whether it was Obama, whether it was Clinton, immigration. All right. Now, I'll show you how they apply system science to manipulate you. Well, when you look at the numbers, take it, there's 14 million illegal immigrants in the United States, 14 million. Rob, what percentage of those immigrants do you think are deported every year?
1%.
3.7% maximum.
Max.
Okay. So over the last 30 years, since immigration has been front and center on every, presidential issue, only 3.7% of illegal immigrants have ever been deported. And guess who was the number one deporter of illegal immigrants?
Obama.
He was called deporter in chief. Okay. So what's going on? So now I'm going to put my hat on, and this is what, as an engineering systems guy who actually wants to change the world and can see through the bullshit and what's actually going on. But without this knowledge, the system's dynamics, you won't be able to see it. So in engineering principles, quick version of it is, you have a goal. All right. And you can think about your thermostat. Your thermostat has a goal, which is, let's say you set it to 72 degrees. Or a autopilot in an airplane has a goal, fly at 40,000 feet in this direction, right? Now, that's the goal that's set. In order to achieve that goal, that heading or that temperature, what happens? Inside your thermostat is something called a thermometer, right? It is actually measuring the actual ambient temperature. Okay, you want to set it to 68, Rob. The temperature is 72. Or you want to go on north heading and you're slightly going south, right? A compass tells you that. So what do those systems do? So two principles I just gave you, the goal and the sensors, 2 of the 9 principles. So a decision is made by a controller, your air conditioning systems have it, or your HVAC systems, or the autopilot. It says, okay, I want to head in this direction, which is the actual goal, and I'm actually at this location, the actual output, what my sensor is saying. So I need to, if it's 72, and I want to get to 68, I'm going to have to send what? More cold air into the vents, right? Mm-hmm. So, the Freon is cycled, you cool the coils, you blow air, and you start getting cool, right? So what did you just do? The controller, which is third of these 9 elements, made a decision to send an input, the fourth of the 9 elements. The input is Freon and airflow, and that transported more air, which is another one of the 9 elements. The Freon converted warm air to cold, and all of this is occurring in a refrigerant storage structure. So I just gave you all the, right? This 8 of the 9 principles. And suddenly your temperature starts dropping from 72 to 68, okay? And in the middle of this, a disturbance could come, which is a 9th element, which means someone opens up your front door, right? And then when a disturbance comes, your system has to adjust to that. This occurs in every complex intelligent system. So go back to immigration. You can apply, and the elites do this. So they recognize what is our goal with these people, right? Go back to the analogy I gave you, Rob. What's the goal? To keep making sure the masses don't breach the moat, right?
Right.
So how do they do that? They have to make sure the masses never figure out that the real oppressor is the guy living in the castle, right? Who's fucking them over. So why is immigration such a powerful input they can put into their system? Because their goal is to divide the masses so they don't overthrow them, right? So they input the controllers, watch which way the mass are going. Hey, wait a minute, blacks and whites and legal and immigrant workers are coming together and they may fuck us over. So I'm going to put an input into the system, which is to divide workers. So what do? The billionaire class looks out and they say, okay, my billions, whether I'm red or blue, is being made through exploited labor. 14 million illegal immigrants in the United States. Consider the so-called red states, which always talk about the illegals. Texas and Florida, call it Texas, Florida. There's close to 200 billionaires in those 2 states, Rob. And by the way, in the big blue state of California, there's 199 billionaires. So it's almost the same. And everyone will say, oh my God, Florida's letting in illegals, right? That's what we're taught to believe. The blue state, it loves illegals. And the red states, they're fighting them. Well, it's actually all bullshit when you look at the actual reality. So Texas and Florida combined, Florida has 200 billionaires. California has 199 billionaires. Combine those, half of the billionaires in the United States. Well, both billionaire classes rely on illegal immigrant labor.
Well, yeah.
40% of Texas construction relies on illegal immigrant labor through subcontractors. Elon fucking Musk talks a big fucking game. All of his subcontractors hire illegal immigrants.
That's right.
Same with Bezos. So all of Texas, construction runs on illegal immigrant labor, yet you got all these people, these red state, talking against, we got to get rid of these illegals. Go to Ron DeSantis' Florida. 60% of all the hospitality is run by illegal immigrants, right? Disneyland would crash.
Do you remember, Dr. Shiba? Real fast, Donald Trump was going to get rid of all illegal immigrants. That's what he ran on. He gets elected, and he comes out and he gives a press conference where he says, except for hospitality and agriculture,
which is 60%.
Exactly.
And 80% of California farming labor runs on illegal immigrants.
I've seen it.
Who owns all of this? Billionaires. So the billionaire trillionaire class is making trillions off illegal immigrants. So what they do is, and I want everyone to listen to this carefully, how control system theory works. So what they do is they say, fuck, we got all these illegals. We don't want the illegal immigrants ever uniting with the poor whites. So this is what I call white on white crime. So the rich white billionaires, predominantly rich white billionaires in the United States, what they do every election cycle, Rob, they drum up immigration as the issue, right? And they find, each candidate, red or blue, always talk about immigration, right? And why are they doing this? Well, the illegal immigrant labor, the 14 million, will work for, let's say, $5 an hour, right? In horrible conditions. That's good for them. That's where they get all their profits. They don't want those profits to be diminished. So what they do is they make immigration the issue. So, and the goal of immigration is to keep wages low of the poor white worker and the poor brown illegal worker. And how do they do that? So they say, yes, we got to get rid of these illegals, border. So what they do is they deport maximum 3.7%. You see, that's the input they send into the system. What does that input do? It gets all the 14 million scared. You got what I'm saying, Rob?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so that 14 million illegal immigrant labor will never fight for their rights. They will accept any labor. So they'll keep their wage at $5. The white worker says, oh, that's good. We got to get rid of these illegals, right? Goddamn illegals, right? Well, their wages should actually be $100 an hour, but they're happy to get $8 an hour. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So what they're doing is suppressing the wages, and by deporting just enough, Rob, 3.7%. Well, if you're going to fucking care about the American workers, deport all of them, Ron DeSantis, you fucking liar. You're bullshitting. Or Ken Paxton, whoever you are in Texas, right? And the Democrats and the Republicans profit from this because the sanctuary cities are actually helping both wings of the establishment. You see what I'm saying?
How does that work with the sanctuary cities? Is it just because it's low cost labor?
Well, what they're doing is they've agreed in the back room, they're only going to deport 3.7% max, right? So that and Obama did it very quietly. He was like the quiet manager. Trump, the only difference between Obama and Trump did it more theatrically with ICE, guys walking around like they're Nazis. And they go to fucking Minnesota. Minnesota only has 96,000 illegal immigrants. Okay? California, Texas, and Florida have close to 4 million. Why didn't you send ICE into Florida? Why didn't you raid all of Disneyland? Why didn't you raid Mar-a-Lago? They go to a small, relatively small area, and what you do is you hype up the Somalis, right? Every generation, by the way, this is the other part of it. And by the way, quick aside, in 1676, there was something called Bacon's Rebellion.
Yeah.
So there was the white rich settlers, the white rich elites who came and colonized the United States. Well, remember, how did they do that? They needed poor white settlers. And there were also the indigenous tribes and the slaves, right? So what was interesting was the poor black slaves and the white settlers united, and they started overthrowing the rich white landlords. Sent the fear of God into them. It was called Bacon's Rebellion. You can look it up.
I remember.
Yeah, and so that's when the British said, holy shit, we can never have these people coming together. Right? They don't want the peasants coming together breaching the moat. We're going to create something called racism. Racism was created. Okay? Racism was manufactured to always make sure one group was against another. And by the way, they go to the basis form of intelligence. Look at those blacks, right? Oh my God, they're animals, right? Whatever characterization. After they went through that, then they did it to the Irish, right? The Irish, oh my God, they're drunk and they're this. Then the Germans, then the Chinese. Because viscerally, we have the primal instinct, we see differences. So you can go down to that very base form of human emotion. And then you go and find Somalis. They look differently. Oh my God, they're robbing this, robbing that. Forget the fact that the billionaires are robbing you blind. So it's always someone you target to make sure the working class, whether legal, illegal, never unites, Rob. And yes. you deport just enough, and you make it very dramatic. And so the white worker, just like the white settlers, felt better because they got a little better treatment. So you're giving one group one group gets an inch, the other one gets an inch and 0.002, and they go, oh, I'm better because I got 0.002 more. You see?
Yeah.
So this is engineered. So if you are white and you think you're better than the Somalis, or you're Chinese and you think you're better than the Irish, it's fucked up. This is totally fucking manipulating you. So this is control system. So they're watching the plane, they're watching the thermostat. The thermostat here is, are the masses figuring my shit out? Holy shit, there's high inflation. People can't afford homes. We're going to send all your poor people to fight. Oh, they're starting to figure shit out. Oops, let's inject 3% immigration input, make it big. Oh, okay, the white workers are feeling good, right? That we're taking care of all these brown people. Get out of our country. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's all control systems. You're keeping the thermostat. So if you watch your thermostat how it works in your house, it's making slight adjustments, right? Every minute. No different than an airplane is making slight adjustments. 2% deportation, 3%. And that input manipulates people, the masses, to think that they are better in this case, and we're separated from everyone else. So this is a deliberate way that you can use control systems engineering.
How do you unwind the conditioning? Because we talk about it a lot on the show, Doctor. How do you get people? Because what I find is you can't have logical conversations with a lot of people. You start explaining to them, you start off very calm, and you're like, well, what about this? You kind of walk them through what you see happening, which is very logical. Isaiah and I talk about it all the time. Logic and ration seems to be gone. And you can see it in their eyes that they're so conditioned into a thought process. Like when you say we're being manipulated against illegal immigration, I 100% agree with you. And I live in Florida, and I've seen it. I've seen busloads of what appear to me to be not Americans dropped off on the side of the highways. I've witnessed it myself, so I know that it's happening. How do you get people to unwind the years and decades of propaganda and conditioning? What is the process to just go one person at a time and draw their mind away from what they think that they know? Is it just routine? Is it repetition? I mean, how do you get these people to come back into some sort of a conversation so you can break them away from what they think they know?
Well, Rob, we got to go back to engineering principles, okay? The questions that you're asking are predicated on thinking we have to go down to the lowest common denominator to change things. If you really look at from a physics standpoint, right? You can't really convince anyone of anything. All right? Everyone's at different states of consciousness and evolving at different rates. And that is a direct function of the experiences that they have had. Let me repeat these three words: action, experience, consciousness. The actions that you take in life affect your experience. Those experiences have a direct effect on your consciousness. Okay? If you just were taught to just grown up in a very wealthy family, and you can just sit around, you never have to work, you just get everything fed to you, the experience that you have is the world exists for me. Your level of consciousness is one of Jared fucking Kushner or Ivanka Trump. Okay? You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If your other, you grew up in a world where you're taught by your great grandparents, look, you reap what you sow. I was brought up a slave and indentured servant. But if you work hard, you take personal responsibility, you can make something of yourself. So that thing attributes you to go mow lawns, right? Start working hard. Go get a job at a small medical college, create email when you're young. And that motivates you to have a state of consciousness. Wow, if you understand the world it is, you understand, and you work hard, you can achieve this. You see, personal responsibility. So action, experience, consciousness. Now, everyone, the 8 billion of us, are on different levels of consciousness based on what actions you've taken, what experiences you had, and what state of consciousness you are. Does that make sense? Yes. So if you're trying to build a movement among the masses of people, particularly hardworking people, so you have the segment of 8 billion. Well, there's one segment, which are the lumpen proletariat, if you want to talk about people who don't want to work, they're criminals, right? They think the way you do it is you scam the system, right? Well, very low consciousness. Then among the other people who actually get up and work, they're at various states of consciousness. Some people have just accepted the way the world it is. Jesus is going to come to save me. Rama is going to descend from the heavens one day, right? Whatever, right? So they're at that state of they accept their lot in life. Then you get another set of people who say, well, you know what? I look at this world and it sucks, and I want to do something about it, okay? Among those people, there are people who think voting for a Democrat or voting for a Republican is going to do it. And then another set of people saying, no, Thomas Massey is our guy, or Bernie Sanders. A little more evolved, but they're still caught in that. They haven't figured out the NSOEs, you see, the not so obvious establishment. And then you find people who looked at this and, hey, none of this shit is working. I really want to understand how the world operates. And they come across our movement. And what do we teach them? We say, look, at the core of it, the world has always changed through the raising of consciousness, bottoms up, people taking action, and you have to have the right theory. And then among that, you get even another set of people who really get these concepts. So it's a concentric circle strategy, right? You have a limited amount of time, Rob. And the shit that we're seeing around us didn't happen overnight, right? Like if your house is a fucking pigsty and is falling apart and it's a mess, did that happen overnight, Rob?
Right.
It happened because of not maintaining it. You know, no one in the home was taught how to do proper hygiene, right? Clean, right? A whole bunch of shit. So if you're living in a very large house with a lot of people and you want everyone to help, well, one method is fascism. One person takes control, kicks everyone, shoots everyone, right? And you get a clean house, China, okay? But it may look cool, but you're being surveilled, right? It's a very different world. You see what I'm saying? So you have to decide what kind of world you want. So if you want a democratic event, we're still based on choice, the Bill of Rights. You're caught in a conundrum, right? In that world, the opportunity is you use the platform of speech that you have in whatever way you can do, and you're trying to find a core set of people. Not anyone you have to, they're on that journey and they're looking for the real answer, Rob, like where you're at, okay? Like that's why we talked yesterday. Like, how do you actually change this? I've tried this, I've tried that. I've realized Tucker Carlson's full of shit. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So those people are actually ready to study, okay? It's a guy saying, I tried to build this airplane, it didn't work. Oh, now you're ready to go to MIT for the aeronautics school. See what I'm saying? We're going to teach you how to build that. But you did all this, so you're really going to be a good student. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. But I think we want to change things. I think the people associated with the show, my organization in Missouri, we actually do want to change things. We will do the work. The people that I'm associated with work tirelessly to get more people involved in what we're doing. It's just very difficult. You know, it's a process. Like you said, you told me the other day, you said, this is not an overnight thing. This is a long journey, but you got to just build one step, one block at a time. And that's what I'm starting to notice. There's no quick fix to this. This is a long journey.
Right. But when you come to that journey, you want to be on the path that actually gets you to that solution.
Right. You don't want to go down the wrong road.
Right. You don't want to go down the wrong road. So if you look at the history of humankind, I've looked at all of these paths. Okay. And you finally you have to have theory, community, and action. Okay. But coming to that so the people come to our movement were people who tried Bernie Sanders. Okay. And they realized that he was full of shit the day that he endorsed Hillary Clinton. You see what I'm saying? Or
yes.
People who tried Jesse Jackson. So they've realized, wait a minute, I'm almost getting it, but I'm not getting it, right? So by the time they come to our movement, they are humbled and want to actually learn. So in that framework, when the student comes, you can actually teach them. And we say, look, let's go to the base level of understanding. What we're talking about is a system. It's called a political system. How do systems operate? Forget politics. Now that knowledge, Rob, has been restricted to maybe 10,000 people on this planet. The knowledge of systems is not taught to everyone. It is really the secret science. It is, and the people who learn that use it to manipulate the masses.
It wasn't from the spaceships that landed and we're re-engineering them?
No. Well, even if that is being done, they're using system science, okay? They have advanced control systems theory. My point is, without understanding the core knowledge, you're sort of screwed. So we start people there. Okay? Well, why am I studying this? Well, just shut the fuck up and study it. Wax on, wax off. Okay? Like, you just have to, at a certain point, when I played soccer or baseball, you just listen to the coach. How do you throw that ball? Right? Right? You just have to have, at a certain point, respect to an engineering physics. So we start people understanding systems. Those people want to learn. And in the context of that, we reveal to people one of the most important aspects of system science, which is self-organizing systems, emergent properties, okay? Systems in the universe emerge out of a set of actions, not any one action. And it's called an emergent property. So what that reveals is that when you take a pond, which is absolutely quiet, and if you drop one pebble here, it'll create a small wave. Another pebble here, but if you create enough pebbles at the same time, it'll create a standing wave. But you don't need 1,000,000 pebbles. You may only need 50 pebbles, and you can get a standing wave. That is a self-organizing system, okay? So without understanding this concept, people will not understand how to change the world. This is physics. The elites understand this. This is why they hit you with Fucker Carlson here. They hit you with Candace Owens. They give you a little bit of Tom Massey. They give you these people to keep you on their fucking plantation, to thinking these people are going to do something, right? Because they're all saying the right things, you see? So they know how to vibrate a system by injecting just enough noise. Now, that same concept can be used to recognize, I have a limited amount of time. I don't want to fucking argue if I'm handing out flyers, 10 people pass by them arguing to me why Bernie Sanders is great. Fuck off. I don't have time to argue with you. But there will be one person who says, you know, Dr. Shiva, I really want to learn. I tried this, great. I'm willing to spend my time with you. So you have to be very wise. There are 3 kinds of people, Rob. There are the people who are the resistors. Anything you say to them, they'll always be naysayers. If you run a small organization or a startup, you have 10 people. One guy's always fucking you over.
Right.
He's a bad sales guy, you know? He could destroy all the other 9 people.
Right.
Then you have other people, which are, so that's about 30% of an organization. The other 50% are watching which way the wind blows. And then you have 20% who are the change agents, who are ready to do stuff. They want to learn, right? They're willing to explore, very entrepreneurial, right? Go-getters, they'll do what it takes. What unfortunately happens, the 20% who want to actually do something, they spend 80% of their time trying to convince the resistors. You got to eliminate the resistors. Don't even waste your time with them. You want to wear a mask? Here's 5 masks. Fuck you, I'm not going to try to convince you. You want to get vaccine? Here's 10. But you will find people. So you build the core 20%. This is organizational systems theory. Okay? The biggest and people do this in family, personal relationships. They're in a relationship. They're trying to change someone. Okay? You say?
Yes.
You can't change anyone. You really can't change anyone. It's a hard reality. So we're saying we want to change the world. What we're really saying is we want to find those people already on the path to understanding change and want to mobilize them, okay, into the right framework. And once you do that, you have an explosive effect, like creating an atom bomb or hydrogen bomb with fusion. So that strategy needs to be clear. And again, everything I'm teaching you, this is what we teach people, okay? There's a lot more, but you have to have the right theory, the right community, and the right action.
Well, it's brilliant. I got to tell you, when you say that, I've experienced all of this. Everything you explained, I experienced. Isaiah, the producer of the show, he's run sales organizations. I have too. And when you described how people are, that's exactly it. There are certain people that resist everything you do. There are people that just want to go wherever the power is going to go. So they're just kind of monitoring wherever the power is going to go. They want to attach to that. And then there are people that say, okay, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. We're going to make this work. Just tell me what I need to do, and I'll go out and we'll get it done. And then I'll observe whether it's working or not. It's exactly how it works.
Right.
It's exactly how it works.
Yeah, it's the 80% rule. I think they say 20% of the people do 80% of the work in any organization.
Right. And the 20%, unfortunately, Isaiah and Rob, the big mistake the 20% make is they spend 80% of their time until they get a little more refined and enlightened on trying to convince the 30%.
Yeah.
At a certain point you get in life,
Guilty.
you realize that you need to just annihilate that 30%. Annihilate them, because they will destroy the 50%. And in fact, they'll destroy your own 20%, because the good people around you, instead of spending 90% of your time with them, you're spending all this time with a bunch of idiots.
Right.
You're actually shooting yourself in the head. Okay. So anyway, so what's emerged for us is it's been, we have a global organization, about 500,000 people. Okay. At different stages of development on the outer concentric circle. Out of that, we have some people who say, yeah, they're serious. They take the program, the course, and they study like good engineering students. And then at the leadership level, we have a young guy, Nicholas Lupo. Nicholas is an electrician. I mean, he actually got all the books and studied it, right? Nicholas went on the ground. I ran for president. He went and collected signatures in Kentucky. He realized, I got to go do something. He's collecting signatures, following the laws. The police show up in front of, I think, a Walmart in Kentucky, and they arrest him. He goes, I have every right. He reads them the law. They throw him in jail, strip search him, Rob, disgusting, and then steal his money in jail, the police. We write to Thomas Massey, who follows me on Twitter, and, I have his DM. Massey doesn't do shit. This is in Kentucky. Constitutionalists. Rand Paul doesn't do anything. Anyway, we as a movement, we fought the lawsuit and we won. Now, out of that entire journey, here's Nicholas, who's just a working class electrician, who got interested. He's learned theory. He understands, and he teaches all of our courses now. He advanced, but that whole experience made him a hardened warrior. He realized no one's going to fucking come save him. These so-called constitutionalists, they're bullshitters. All right? And like that, the quality of people we have now globally, the leader, and they're all over the world, from Australia to Finland to all over the world. We've set up infrastructure. We have our own data center. We have our own software framework. So no one has to build all this. And this framework allows people at the most unconscious levels to come to a certain level of consciousness, to learn more, and to develop themselves. And then these people become mentors and teachers, educating other people. So, for example, we got to get on the ballot in Massachusetts, you need 20,000 signatures. Well, people from all over the country showed up, Rob, because they get it. Now, what is the consciousness they have, Rob? And so what's interesting, that because of our training, they realized, an election for U.S. Senate in Massachusetts is not an election in Massachusetts, because one senator like myself, if I can make it to the Senate, I would use that as a platform to affect, you and I would be doing podcasts out of my Senate office, Rob.
Same thing, Dr. Shiva. That's what we're trying to do in Missouri. So we run a grassroots organization. We have political sway in what goes on in Missouri politics, right? We grassroots organizations from every corner of Missouri, and we communicate with them. And I keep saying, listen, one person is not going to change the system the way it works, but what it can do is expose the system. Just like you said, get in there and then start explaining to everybody what's going on. And just like you said, have the podcast from inside their offices. We're trying to do the same thing in Missouri. We're trying to make sure that people, if they can get elected, which, I don't know how well these elections actually run, but if they get into a position of power within the Missouri government, that they're exposing what is going on versus trying to manipulate a system that is, in my opinion, clearly rigged.
So, Rob, the main thing that you guys would benefit, so you have a community, you have action, you need the right theory now, okay? Because the theory is what will always guide you. It's your North Star. So people don't get opportunists. You see, the problem is the establishment banks on opportunism. Let me repeat that again. The establishment banks on opportunism and people not being grounded in the theoretical framework. You say?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
For example, the next Thomas Massey that comes, and by the way, or the next Tulsi Gabbard, or the next James Tallarico, he's like the next, the swarm keeps breeding these people who are opportunists. Because nowadays, when I talk about sensors in a system, with companies like Palantir, they have a dashboard. I'm telling you right now, they can watch which words, which conversations are moving people away from them. Okay? It was not in vogue to be anti-Zionist and call people Zionist cocksuckers even 3 years ago. But when I did that video and it went viral, I guarantee you they called up these opportunist podcasters. And they said, okay, everyone now be anti-Zionist. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it works. So nowadays they have data streaming to them. Oh, wow. Let's talk about Israel now. Okay? And let's bash Israel. Not that Israel should not, but these people bashing Israel have no intent in building a bottoms-up movement to actually end Zionism. They're bashing Israel because they get views and clicks. And they're promoted to bash Israel because they're not shadow banned, because they're doing nothing to end Zionism.
And isn't that obvious, Dr. Shiva? Because we talk about that. We were talking about it before the show started today. There are certain people that get these enormous, and I don't think they're that talented. That's what's so frustrating to me. They're not talented people. They don't have the gift of communication, but their profile grows exponentially on social media. Really talented people are trying to get something done. They don't go anywhere. There's nothing they can do. Apparently, at least for what I see, and I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the people that I watch that I think are really talented. You, for example, you just can't get any traction on social media, which means somebody has to be algorithming you out of spreading
Robb,
message.
so I think part of the understanding is to recognize this. Again, we teach this, right? The establishment creates a dialectic, left and right, Republican, Democrat. And if you're not on that plantation, okay? If you're not on that plantation, you are a threat. So in 2020, when I did all those COVID videos, right, exposing everything,
Watched every one of them.
right? I mean, I added up all my video views. It was close to 2 billion unique views. That means 1 out of 4 people have seen my videos throughout the world. Just think about that.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the MAGA crowd thought that I was on their side. Okay. The medical freedom crowd thought I was with Booby fucking Kennedy. But I was my own person exposing the actual realities of what was going on. And these agents would try to sucker me into their plantation. And eventually I had to expose Booby Kennedy, expose Trump, right? But because I was not compromising. And I was saying, look, we need to build a bottoms-up movement, bottoms-up movement. Trump ain't doing that. Trump is actually part of the swarm. Booby Kennedy was promoting lockdowns, right? And the medical freedom movement was like, why don't you work with Booby? You know, you and Bobby would make a great team.
You nailed that. You nailed that from the get-go.
Right, right. But I'm saying is,
and turned out to be the money.
but do you know how many people, if they didn't understand theory, would have gone with Booby? I would have been an opportunist, because it would have been very profitable for my fame and exposure, right? Because I would have been in his camp. Oh my God, Dr. Shiva's our golden boy, right? Marla Maples' wife Trump's wife reached out to me. She was a big Booby fan, and she thought I was in his camp. She did videos with me. She goes, me and Tiffany love you, her dog. But I said, Marla, Kennedy's full of shit. She never called me after that. But the point is, this is the other lesson here, Rob, and I want people to listen to this carefully. This is why if I were them, I would shadow ban me. Let me tell you why. Because my life journey, because of where I came from, was never about compromising. The invention of email, let me tell you why that story is so dangerous. Even though I got 4 fucking degrees at MIT, have a PhD from MIT, won every award from MIT, was on the front page of MIT for many innovations, right? When the truth came out that I invented email in 2011, before I came to MIT, this is dangerous. Let me tell you why. It's dangerous because the journey to the invention of email took place by an individual who did not need to be anointed by the establishment. It was done on my own terms. I worked hard. I found this medical college to work at in Newark, New Jersey. You see, it was done independent of dependence on them. And even till this day, every one of my accomplishments, I do in spite of them. When I went to India and I was recruited by the Prime Minister of India to run the largest innovation center, my father-in-law said, shut the fuck up, you'll be Minister of Science and Technology. Even then, Rob, I couldn't capitulate because of the corruption I saw. So I have lived life on my own terms and still been successful. That story cannot come out because it says, yes, you can live on your own terms, uncompromisingly, and do well. You see what I'm saying?
Amen.
Right? So they don't want that story out. They want the story, you must suck Zionist cock.
You must be a fucking trillionaire slave like Elon fucking Musk. The guy has not created anything. He's now the highest paid slave. Everything he does is done at the behest of the military-industrial Zionist complex.
That's who funds it all. Yeah, they fund it all.
So they want to laud him up as if you suck Zionist cock, we will make you a trillionaire. In fact, I did a graph. If you look at the level of your score, how much you're dependent on government and Zionism, okay, on this axis, and your wealth, it goes up like this, Elon Musk being number one next to the Saudi prince, MBS. Okay? So you cannot be a trillionaire or a billionaire at that level without being one with them. So these people, in many ways, are the highest paid slaves. But the difference is they're voluntary slaves. They're voluntary slaves who the establishment promotes. And then they have voluntary grifter slaves like Fucker Carlson, like Candace Owens, because that's why they're promoted, because they are not telling people that you can defy the odds and do it on your own. Personal responsibility, which is what made America truly great. These immigrants who came over, defied the odds, worked on their own terms. That's the real story that they don't want coming out, that you can, in spite of all the shit that's taken place in your life, you can still work hard, you can set goals, you can be disciplined, you can be dedicated. Now, they do this with sports stars, right? Oh my God, look at this sports star. He's so dedicated, Beckham, and he did this, and they'll keep that because that's a distraction. But they do not want the story of the invention of email coming out because it says, like, I didn't need to fucking go to MIT to invent email.
Weren't you on the front of Time magazine?
Yeah. So that
they tried to say that it wasn't you. I'm like, he's on the cover of Time. They already.
yeah, it was in the online edition. And by the way, I recently saw they took down that story.
Did they really?
After 20 years, yeah. So the point is, they cannot have the story of an independent thinker, people independently, all those stories are being wiped out. So the reality is, it was independent, bottoms-up movements that have always changed the world. Period. That story they don't want coming out, Rob, and that will be shadow banned.
I think that's absolutely true.
You see, so that's what's going on. So the core of what we teach is it is movements that build the world, and then all the system science around that. So you guys are on the right track. You're doing these actions. You have a community, but you need the theory. So we have to figure out a way how your community can work together with Truth, Freedom, Health and get this theoretical framework. Because without that, people will always make these 1 degree differences. 1 degree every 1 minute, the plane, instead of ending in San Francisco, ends up in Greenland, okay? And that's what's been going on. People keep compromising, right? It's been occurring since the 1970s. Oh, the Democrats will, the Republicans will, oh, Bernie will do it. Obama will do it. Trump will do it, right? So they keep going off course. Now Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? They're going to keep promoting people who are, and the biggest indicator is draw the axis, how many views and clicks you're getting, and draw the anti-establishment axis. How can you truly be anti-establishment and get that many views and clicks? And the answer is right in front of you. It has to be decentralized, bottoms up, and you have to have the right theoretical framework. And so that, you guys were talking about our lawsuit, right? So my running for US Senate is not with the aim of having illusions that we're going to win the election. But even if we win the election, it is not also the further aim that we're going to use that position to somehow change the system. Okay? So we always tell people, my running for office gives everyone an opportunity to participate in the swarms process. And out of that, what we learn, we expose, and we grow people. That's what happened in 2020. Because I ran for Senate again, and we're the ones who discovered that they flip votes on the machines. We're the ones who discovered that they delete ballot images. We're the ones then who discovered that when you tell people about it, the government has a backdoor portal into Twitter. Then right? So if I didn't run, all of these victories would not come out. So I would say we were beyond victorious. They may have cheated my election, but we freaking cut them with 1,000 razor blades. Everyone now knows there's a backdoor portal. And they also know that fucker Carlson and Glenn Greenwald and all these people, even though they were told about that, didn't cover it for 3 years. It further tells them those people don't cover the truth. So you see all these realizations we're able to share now in real time. These are like golden truths. They're like experiences people have. People in our movement, that raises their consciousness. So we win, man. We can't lose. There's no fucking way we lose.
Because consciousness, you told me this on the phone the other day, you said consciousness is the goal.
Consciousness is a goal. So, and Nicholas Lupo, who came as an electrician, saw one of my, Nicholas, if you talk to him.
I would like to, by the way.
Yeah, Nicholas, you should have him on. Nicholas was watching Joe Rogan videos all day long. And then he saw one of my videos exposing Joe Rogan. And he said, wow. He goes, and he realized, I'm just sitting here after I come home from work, spending 3 hours watching Joe Rogan videos. What the fuck am I doing? This guy's out in the cold handing out flyers and educating people. So Nicholas got the books on the theory of systems, and Nicholas really studied it. Like, he absorbed all of it. Then he went and handed out those, flyers, and then he got arrested, right? Then he awoke so fast. His development was hyper exponential, right? So without going through that process, people really won't get it. And then we have other people during like 2018. I'll give you the other extreme. When I ran against Warren, only the real Indian can defeat the fake Indian. And when I did all those videos on medical freedom, a lot of people came to me because they saw me as their savior, but they never studied the theory, Rob. So those people were around me, but we don't see them anymore. They were dilettantes. It was like cool to be around Dr. Shiva. Oh, Elizabeth Warren, right? But I keep telling them, you guys fucking didn't learn shit because you didn't study the theory. Yeah, it was cool and exciting to call Elizabeth Warren a fake Indian. It was cool to be, but you didn't study. So you took action. You're part of a community, but you didn't learn the theory. You say, a friend of mine is part of these constitutionalists. Oh, I'm evading my taxes. I said, Jeremy, you're just going from one plantation to another. Okay? Doing those things to try to bring back the mechanisms of, that thing and manipulating your tax returns is not going to lead to liberation for the masses of people. We actually have to recognize we live in the modern world. We have to build this bottoms up movement. So even some of these movements that people think they're doing something, Rob, it's about escaping dealing with the front reality of the swarm. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So they're trying to figure out some angle, like a con man. I'm going to con the system this way. You can't con the system. The beast is and I have another friend of mine, nice guy. Every week, the world is going to come to an end. Iran is going to blow. Every week is some fucking, because he listens to some guy, right? Every week, Armageddon is going to take place. He doesn't understand the elites are very well organized. They're not stupid. They don't want to blow up the world. They'll bring us to the brink, tank the stock market, buy low and sell high. They're not going to blow up the world. They will make you think they're going to blow up the world. So you sell all your shares low and they're going to buy them high. So people need to understand there's not some quick fix. There's not some dramatic ending to the world. It is a problem that we need to understand the engineering in a very rational way. And our goal at Truth Freedom Health, just like, remember Nike brought out shoes and got people running or exercise. Our goal is, look, this is a framework. We created all these tools for you. Integrate this into your life, right? 1 hour, 2 hour a day. And we give you various actions that you can do. But now you're bringing in this active citizenship to raise your consciousness into your life. That's the goal, Rob. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have enough potent things that you learn. The acceleration, like if you take a pot of water, like I was mentioning, the water doesn't just go to boil. It heats, and then at 100 degrees centigrade, it boils, right? That's a revolution. So it will occur, but it will not occur if we're not heating it with the right consciousness, you say? And it will take time. So that's why, in the, I think, Isaiah, we were talking about, so when, this time when we ran for Senate, we proactively filed a writ of mandamus, which is saying, hey, government of Massachusetts, you are deleting ballot images, which is a violation of federal law. You better preserve them. So we went and put a poker into the bear. The bear reacted back very stupidly because it didn't know, it just thought we had gone away. It didn't know that we're actually building a movement and we're persistent. It came back and he said, there are no ballot images, Your Honor. And it said, so there's nothing that we can do to save, a big lie. And then it went on to say, but in Massachusetts, we don't save ballot images because we want to protect the public. And then they somehow must have called up the judge, and they had the judge, even though the election is November 2026, right? They had the judge postpone the hearings, Rob, until 2028, November 2028, 2 years later. We have trained our team, Rob, to learn how to file lawsuits. So we immediately got together, literally overnight, and we responded with 4 briefs. You can find them on the site. I think it's up online. And we wrote an opposition brief, a 19-page memorandum of law, and we demanded an emergency hearing to accelerate the tracking schedule. And lo and behold, the judge gave it to us. And I think the judge gave it to us because they knew the appeal would win and they would look like shit. So we went into the emergency hearing yesterday. We represented ourselves because we win when we represent ourselves. When we bring in lawyers, they're in collusion with the state.
Amen. Yep.
So we went in and we represented the facts. We educated the judge. Hey, look, a ballot image is always created when you put it to the machine. It is created in memory, no different than me open up my computer screen here and I start working on a Microsoft Word document. It's in memory, right? If I close the computer and I didn't hit save, it means it didn't put it on the hard drive, but it was in memory. It did get created. So they're going and telling the judge, oh, there was nothing created because they have turned off the switch to save it. No different than you not hitting save my document. So when the paper ballot goes through, an image is created in memory. It is the image that becomes the ballot because the image is what is used to tabulate the vote. And there's a software setting that says save the image or delete it. They've set it to auto delete, Rob. And they're telling the courts and the citizenry, oh, there's no image that was ever created. So we've caught them red-handed. They perjured themselves. And in fact, the Department of Justice under Biden, not Trump, clearly said that ballot images must be preserved pursuant to 52 USC 20701, which is a law that says all records in connection with a federal election must be preserved. Now look at what we've done. No one else is fighting this. We are. We expose this. In fact, the team in Florida who won a case on this, when I called up the lawyer, he goes, oh yeah, I remember you guys did this back in 2020. So whatever we do has an effect. And part of the thing that, Rob, we want to teach people is that the celebrity culture of thinking you go get a Botox, you don't get wrinkles, or you somehow put out a sex video and you become famous like Kim Kardashian. These are very, very, very ephemeral ways of quote unquote success. Real success, real values come from hard work over time, over and over again. So you're training a bunch of youth to think success is this very fleeting, ephemeral thing, one-hit wonder. No, it's not. That's nothing. You don't build your moral character. You don't build the fiber. The noble goal is, do you advance as a human being in consciousness? You see? So everyone who comes into our movement and goes through this are winning. So our criteria for winning is not winning on their very, decrepit measures, right? Like winning a UFC fight or something, right? This is about, are you moving forward morally, intellectually, character-wise? So that is the quality of people that our movement is developing. But you have to have systems theory understanding. You have to have a proper community of people, and you have to take deliberate action, which advances your consciousness. So you almost have to be very strategic on what actions you take. So you're looking at, advancing people up this path, you say? So
yes,
that's what's going on.
And I'm hoping we can join forces because I did.
Yeah. We should figure out a way. I mean, we have a great leader. We should figure out a way how everyone in your framework can work with Truth, Freedom, Health, because we have people all over the country, and our goal is to recognize what occurs through the world affects all of us. So we have through our phone system we've created, we have someone in Finland, a woman who's a civil engineer, gets on the phone, makes calls to citizens in Massachusetts, and tells them to pledge their vote for Dr. Shiva. People said, oh my God, how's that going to work? She has a thick accent. No one will listen to her. Well, she's almost got 300 people to pledge. Okay? Right? So we're saying this is a global movement of raising people's consciousness. Right? It's not in any one country. It's not in any one nation. Consciousness moves irrespective of space and time.
Do you think it's because this is another just debate I have with people. They don't want you to suppress vote. They are so convinced that if you can, and I'm not even disagreeing, I'm going to get your opinion on it, that you're going to change this through elections and system. And I always say, well, I don't trust the election, so it's very hard for me to get. I get behind candidates or people that I like that I think are in it for the right reasons. I think they're trying to do the right thing. Do you think you can change this system through elections the way they are today? Do you think that's possible to do?
Well, it depends on how you do it, Rob. So, okay, so first principle, again, like physics, gravity, right? First principle. The first principle here is it is self-organizing systems, bottoms up, that change anything significant. And if you consciously understand this dynamic, you can actually consciously become a conscious atom in the soup of consciousness, if that makes any sense, okay? So once you recognize that, it is a goal of expanding consciousness and creating these bottoms-up movements. If that's a goal, now within that context, you look at these tools, okay? Okay, protesting, an election, filing a lawsuit. You see, they're at the next level. We don't want to put them at the center. But if your goal is to advance people's consciousness, you say, okay, an election is coming up. What can I use that platform to advance this larger movement?
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? I'm flipping it.
Yep.
Okay. So in that sense, okay, I don't know if you can see. So look at, this hasn't been put out, but I'll share it with you guys for the first time. We have a cool flyer we're putting out, okay? And I'll give you sort of, the understanding, okay? Let me bring it up here. So this is a flyer that I just developed, okay? And I enjoy doing these things because they're really educational pieces of work, no different than me developing a course at MIT. Can you see this here? I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah. If you email it to me, I can throw it on the screen.
Yeah, I can't send it out yet because it's not approved.
Oh, no
yet.
worries.
But you guys see that?
I see this.
It says
Yeah.
you are independent, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's done old school newsprint. You see that?
Yep. Black and white.
Yeah, black and white. And it says, you are independent. 65% of Massachusetts is independent. And by the way, Dr. Shiva is independent. So why do we keep voting against ourselves? You see that?
Yes. We talked about it yesterday. I
Right.
agree. I had
So-
no idea it was that high in Massachusetts because when I worked in Massachusetts, it felt very liberal.
Right.
I was
But it's
in Newton,
65% of Massachusetts independent, okay?
Incredible.
And you can see, ultimately, you keep voting for these guys. Houses are unaffordable. Cost of living is going up, right? So the point we're trying to make is we're using this occasion to bring out this very powerful concept. Hey, 65% of Massachusetts has already decided, I don't want to be on the Democrat-Republican plantation. That's a head in the right direction, okay? But yet, you're the slave who decided you want to get off the plantation. The gate is open, but you're not willing to walk off the plantation. You still keep voting, right? 90% of the independent voters still keep voting for the 35%. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what we're saying is, wait a minute.
They think if you go for independence, you're destroying everything. I've heard this a million
Yes.
times. Rob, a third party, it never works if you do the third party. I'm like, well, I don't like I think there's only two parties, the independents and then the other party, which is the uniparty that makes you think there's two, but really they work together, obviously, if you pay attention to it close enough. So really an independent party would be just a second party, if you ask me.
Right. So what they're doing, Rob, is this is what the powerful thing is, right? They literally have created this invisible cage, right? And we could do we should probably do a follow-up on this, but here's the point. What they're doing is, so the extreme case is 65% of Massachusetts is independent. That means it's like the bird who's decided to open the cage. But the cage is open, but is not leaving the cage. It said it's registered independent. But why doesn't it leave the cage? And the only way that can happen, Rob, is the amount of behavioral engineering that they're doing.
Yes.
And that behavioral engineering, what I talked about, you can find it, is they're doing 5 particular tactics. And this is the engineering. So what they do is they pummel people over and over again at every election, even though 65% are independent, and here's an independent candidate. They say, you know what? This is the biggest election, Rob.
Ever.
If we don't vote for Republican, the world is going to be destroyed. Or if we don't vote for Democrat. So they make it this Marvel Comics, good versus evil, Armageddon. Okay? So what do you mean you're going to vote for Dr. Shiva? You're going to fuck up the vote, right? They make, so that's the fear factory, as I call it. Okay? That's one technique. So again, they're going down to the basis emotions. The next thing is once they got you in that, they go, you got to vote for the lesser of two evils. Yeah, that guy may be a pedophile. He may be banging everyone but his wife, but he's far better than this guy, you know, who was a Nazi
Leave
criminal.
the borders open and trans.
Yeah. So both guys are idiots. Both guys are filth. It's criminal A versus criminal B, but you're better off choosing. So what they've done mentally, Rob, they've lowered people's very high standards down to lowest standards between choosing dirtbag 1 or dirtbag 2, right? So they use that. The third technique that they're, and again, this is engineered. They do media redlining, right? And what they're doing there is the media is complicit in this. In the debates, they don't include the independent candidate.
Right.
Right? They don't even include them in the polls.
Hell, half of them won't debate, Dr. Shiva. Half of them won't even debate. The people that are winning don't debate.
That's what I'm trying to
Trump
say.
didn't debate in the primaries. Trump didn't debate in the primaries. You have the woman out in Arizona who didn't debate. Right here, the governor of Missouri didn't debate. And all the people that don't debate win, which I find very interesting.
Byron Donald isn't going to debate.
Donald's in Florida is not going to debate. They don't debate.
Right. And then the next thing they do, the other tactic is the last one that they do is the divide and conquer tactic, right? Or I'm sorry, the spoiler matrix. Oh my God, if you vote for an independent, you're wasting your vote, right? And then finally, they do the divide and conquer. They make it cultural war versus a real warfare, which is economic war, right? So they have gotten this. So that is the only way. I was thinking about this. Why doesn't the bird leave the cage? Because the bird is mentally held down in chains by these 5 techniques. And that is, so we have an opportunity to educate people on that. 65% of Massachusetts is independent. By the way, 54 million Americans are registered independents, 48%. The other 20-odd% are Republicans and Democrats. So the majority are independents. So the slogan becomes, at a very deep spiritual level, like you've chosen that you want freedom. Now get the freedom you deserve. What's holding you down is this mental slavery. You say?
Yes.
And that is where, you see what I'm saying? Ultimately, it's consciousness, Rob. It's consciousness.
I got one more for you. I got one more for you because I got a guy coming on that I promised I'd get on. He's got it's Missouri politics, and I don't want to disrespect him. But I got one more question for you, and I'll give you a little extra time. What is behind this AI data center movement? He's talking about that. He's running for presiding commissioner in Washington, Missouri. Montgomery,
Franklin County, Missouri.
Franklin County. And they are fighting against AI data centers. But the Republican Party, which runs everything in the state of Missouri, is, as I like to say, they open up your mouth and they're going to shove these AI data centers right down your throat, whether you like them or not. And people are protesting against them everywhere. There's a protest in Jefferson City, the capital of Missouri, right now. The Republican Party does not care whether you want AI data centers because they are going to put them in whether you like it or not. What is the deal behind it? Is this economic development? Is this something that we have to have, or we fall behind China? Or is it something more sinister, which is what we all seem to believe in Missouri? What's your take on these AI data centers and this incredible movement to get these things implemented all over the country?
Well, Rob, I have the 3 earliest patents on the first AI patents. Okay. One of my first companies, EchoMail, this is in the 90s, automatically used technology, automatically read and route email. I did it for the White House. So I built my first quote unquote AI data center late 90s. Okay. Look, the fundamental issue here is what is AI and who owns it? And it's about owning the compute infrastructure, okay? So the only difference between what you call AI and the AI of the 70s is that you can do more on a chip right now. And it takes a lot. And because you can do more, you need a lot of cooling. right, to cool these things. That's why they need all this water, okay? So the ultimate issue, again, if we study theory, let's go back to theory. It is bottoms-up movements, right? Whether it's AI, whether it's fire, whether it's nuclear power, whether it's the cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, who is controlling these technologies? There are 5 major telco companies which control this. Solution for that is mesh networks. Okay, AI is centralized compute. There's nothing wrong with data centers, but it should be decentralized compute. Every local community should have their own compute. So the issue is not AI or compute, it's who owns this compute. The compute is centralized by probably 3 major companies. That's what it's going to come down to.
Amazon, Google, and who's the other one? You know?
Meta.
Well,
Meta?
yeah,
It's
it's
Meta.
only 3 or 4 people. But my point is, like, when the internet first came, we were all building our own little websites. And then eventually 4 major companies consolidated. So this is what happens, and it's a longer conversation. I want to be mindful, is that whenever technology comes, people get very excited. It's a liberator for humankind. But because of the nature of monopoly capitalism, it ultimately gets consolidated into the few. So it's not that technology is bad, okay? The issue comes down to who owns the technology. And what's really cool is there's some really cool decentralized energy we could do. Every community should have their own decentralized compute, okay? Just like you can have decentralized power, decentralized mesh networks for communication. So as a technologist, there's 2 ways technology can go. Centralized, owned by a few, decentralized for the many. That's the real way to look at this. Otherwise, people who don't know technology will get lost in this dialectic, and they're going to create a dialectic where those in power know how to own that drama, you see? And that's what's happening with the discourse on this AI data center needs to move to what I'm talking about from a systems approach. This is why it's really, really important to get training. Otherwise, people just create this farcical dialectic, and they're going to lose always.
So these data centers, because I kind of agree with you on this, we're not necessarily against data centers. We're against how the data centers are going to be used by the people that will ultimately control them. Yeah.
Yeah, look, when the United States Postal Service was set up, it was a quasi-government organization. It was a technology infrastructure, so everyone could send a letter for pennies. Okay? The U.S. Postal Service is an amazing organization. This is why it's constantly under attack. Everyone's going postal. They want to bring it under the Department of Commerce because a letter, ultimately, if someone opens it, it's 22-year sentence in prison. This is why Trump is trying to destroy the Postal Service. There are infrastructures like that can be created, like mesh networks, where you can eliminate Vodafone, AT&T, T-Mobile. We can create a national network of the people by the people. No one can ever censor it. Because ultimately, even though you have a cell phone and I do, and I can build my own website, the link between me and you is owned by one of 4 telco companies. There's a way to decentralize that. You see, there's a way to decentralize power. That's where systems thinking takes you. The other thing takes you, oh my God, these guys are going to, they're soaking up the water. It's much deeper than that. You see? So they're in the battleground of where the establishment wants you to fight. And they're always going to win that fight.
It certainly appears. Can you, Isaiah, put up truthfreedomhealth.com so people can kind of see it? Because we want to make sure that we thank Dr. Shiva for all the time. And then we'll get together, Dr. Shiva. We're going to work together.
Is that different than vashiva.com, Dr. Shiva? They're
Well, if
2
you
different
go to
sites?
truthfreedomhealth.com, that's a branded site people land
Perfect.
at.
Okay.
Then you can take them to vashiva.com. And the last one is Shiva #4senate.com. Those 3 sites will give everyone everything what they need.
Gotcha. So we'll promote those. I'll get in contact with you later. We'll try to combine forces. We talked about maybe doing something together one day.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, this is, and the cool thing is, Rob will show you that we've done these. These are platforms, you see? So where we can collaborate and scale together.
That's really what we want to do.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. If we can draft off of each other and get people more aware of what's going on and organized, I'm down with it. So
it'd be great to have Dr. Shiva join us in DC next time we're there. We should be coming.
We get after these people in DC just a little bit, Dr. Shiva. We try to expose as much as we can. So I appreciate all your time, my friend.
Right.
You are fantastic. I'll be in touch with
You
you
well,
again.
guys.
You got it. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Shiva.
All right. He's something else, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
He,
I put you in the corner. Look at
we'll
that.
put baby in the corner. All right, let's.
You're in timeout, Rob. No,
yeah.
a couple things I wanted to say. I didn't want to interrupt his trains of thought because he was on good.
Yeah,
good
he
paths
gets
there.
rolling. He's incredibly bright. And, I wonder if he offends people with the language. See, that doesn't bother me. I know it does bother a lot
No,
of people.
it's. I think
language
some
at all.
people who are. I call them snowflakes. That's what I like to say.
It's
When you're a
frustrating with
snowflake,
language, like, and I always think language, just the fact that there's bad and
charging.
good words,
Yeah.
is really just another way to control the mind, which is what George Carlin tried to explain to people. And then the other thing that may bother people is when he talks about religion. He's a spiritual guy.
Yeah.
He's just saying that, and I think about Catholics.
He's talking about the same thing with
Christians.
capitalism. It's how it's controlled.
It gets redirected and it gets away from its original concept. And sometimes I don't give him time to explain that at times, but I don't want people to be offended by things that he's really not saying, because sometimes you get.
No, it's good that I think. I mean, this is how I understand when he's talking about multiple religions. It's an understanding that he's not saying that these are bad at their core. It's just what has humans done to hijack the movements? Yeah, and there's a couple things. That's what I was saying. Is like he was saying all these things, and I was 100% thinking about President Trump when he's saying that, because he's talking about these people that were getting behind and they're like, oh, they're going to do it for us, right? They're going to do it. And that's exactly how everyone felt about President Trump.
My buddy Max is in the chats, Isaiah.
Yeah.
He's in the chats, and he said, when I brought up Q, because Max is listening and he'll remember, I always say Max is one of the smartest people I've ever known, like grew up with, and just, he's a brilliant guy. And I was sitting on his porch in Georgia, and I brought up, I said, what do you think of the Q movement? And Max at that time, I don't know if he still does, I haven't seen Max in a bit, but he smoked cigarettes very quickly, and his mind he's amazing. And he went on a tirade for about an hour, not to get caught up in Q. He said, Q, the premise of Q is to sit on your hands because Donald Trump is going to fix everything. He goes, it keeps people from organizing against tyranny. And that was the message that he was beating through my head. He said, Q is, it's not that they're not saying things that aren't true. That's how cons work. But Q is, the premise of Q is to make sure that you never organize to work against your enemy, but you think that some one wonderful person, some entity like Donald Trump is going to come save the day. And here we are. This is that was 2020. So here we are in 2026. It turns out that he was pretty close to right on the money, because now everybody expects Donald Trump to come save the day. Look at Donald Trump loyalists. Are they organizing to fix anything? No, they're sitting back going, Donald Trump's playing 5D chess. Rob, you don't get it. All these moves are so fantastic. Look what he's doing. Look what Q said, and look what he's doing. And did you see the executive orders? Did you see this? I'm like, yeah, but nothing's happening. You know, if exposure's the deal, there's Max. He said, LOL. Yep. I said, if exposure's the deal, fantastic. But at some point, don't you have to have some organizational skill to make things change? And that is my argument. Carrington Financial.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you finish.
Let me finish my thought, because you interrupted me when I was talking.
I love when you get after me.
I know, you interrupted me and then talked for 3 minutes and then told me to stop talking. You know, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But the whole time I'm thinking about sociology. Now, I don't know if you studied sociology at all or anything like that, but have you ever read Lord of the Flies, the book of Lord of the Flies? Yeah. So I'd highly recommend reading that book, because that is what, for me, helped me realize the power of influence over our lives, and how the power of the masses being influences can influence you very quickly. I know I said influence a lot there, but essentially it's all these young boys who are crash on an island, and it's just young boys. All the adults die. And so they create this tribal mentality, basically, and eventually someone kills someone. It just shows how, even though they might be wrong, because of the masses and the power put down from those in charge, that you can create people to do things that they would have never done before, or follow someone that they may have never would have followed before. And that made me start thinking. Also, he was talking about data. And I really want to talk to Dr. Shiva, because me and him could probably nerd out about this, about Cambridge Analytica. I know I've talked about The Great Hack before, and a couple of people have already messaged me when I mentioned that movie, told me thank you, because they'd never seen it before. And Cambridge Analytica is exactly what Dr. Shiva is saying. Cambridge Analytica is a data analytics company that essentially collected all these data points, and Palantir is that next level, the next layer of Cambridge Analytica, because of how much more data they can not only take in, but process and read, and like you said, redirect the conversations. That was started back in 2015 with Cambridge Analytica influencing the elections through social media. And so that's, I mean, I'm just over here thinking, oh my gosh, this is what I was thinking the whole time he's talking.
He's a lot too, Isaiah, right?
Yeah.
So if you've never heard him before and you're just, you're coming off of Fox News, you're scrolling through and you hear Dr. Shiva, he blows your mind at times because you're not familiar with his work, but I'm familiar with it. I've been following him for 6 years, and I get lost. I do my own thing, right? So I don't get to hear everything that he has to say. But as I check in ever so often and listen to him speak, everything that he talks about, if you just give him a second and don't get distracted by anything else, and you listen to what he says, watch how your world begins to change. All the things, if you can follow the information, right? You start to see this right on the money. I'm telling you, he told me that Donald Trump was a fraud. And listen, I don't want to get my Donald Trump people mad at me. That's not where I'm coming from. I want to be fair to everybody. But he said Donald Trump was a Zionist before I even knew what he was talking about. And now you look up and it's like, it's Zionist all around Donald Trump. So either Donald Trump is just playing some role to bring all this out into the light, or he was right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because that's what surrounds him. You got to admit, Isaiah, I mean, every Zionist in America is falling in love with Trump. So, it seems to be real. Go ahead.
Now they hate him today, today and yesterday and today. Now Mark Levin is the worst. I know.
Which gives Donald
Sean
Trump
waiting so long. I'm sorry, Sean.
No, that's what gives Donald Trump supporters, you can't say that they're wrong because now Donald Trump it appears, is now trying to make nice with Iran at the angerment. Is that a word? Which is creating anger. I just make up words. Which is, I apologize.
It's a Rob Carter show word.
Yeah, exactly. Is angering Mark Levin, and Mike Pence was on CNN going off on Donald Trump. This is a huge mistake, and this and that and the other. All right, Carrington Financial, Isaiah.
So funny. It's like the WWE. Mike Pence on CNN. It's just like that's
so bad, and he is the little wooden boy. I got my. I told you we went to one of his. He gave a speech down in South Florida. My son and I went, and couldn't wait to ask him questions. It was during COVID, Isaiah. As soon as he finished, I mean, they ran off of that stage to music like they were in a sprint. They got off that stage. Like, we all spent money to come in here. My son drove hours to get down here to see this. You speak for an hour and you run off the stage and don't ask her. Not one question could you ask about COVID because he knew people were going to ask him about COVID. Remember, he was in charge of COVID. Remember, that was his deal. He ran out like he was on fire. And I thought, this scumbag. And anyway, Carrington Financial, there's the man, your caring advisor, Rick Babbitts. He was on yesterday. A couple people called me afterwards. Now, Rick, for me, and the way he speaks, my mind gets lost with Rick Babbitts. But people that were listening to it that understand, I don't understand the financial situation that well, Isaiah. I had several calls yesterday. Well, I shouldn't say several. 2 calls yesterday. They said, "Man, that Rick Babbitts, he's brilliant." He goes, and they were just telling me their stories about it. Listen, if you're in to the markets, if you have money, if you're nearing retirement, very quickly give Rick Babbitts a call. Biblical principles with your money. He's a fiduciary. He cares about whether you make money or not. 314-671-0525. Your caringadvisor.com. Rick Babbitts, 314-671-0525. If you're nearing retirement, if you have money to protect, if you have money to save, whatever you got going on, if you want to take care of your money and you want somebody who does it differently than everybody else, I suggest you give this man a call. 314-671-0525. And then, Isaiah, if you don't mind, before we get off today, and I apologize, Sean, I'm going to give you as much time as you need, my friend, as long as Isaiah allows me, because Isaiah runs the show around here, right? But advancedwellnessmed.com with Dr. Helen Gelhart, they've got something going on tonight. I will be there along with Act for Missouri, and I want to get that out before we leave. I just want to make mention of it, and before the show ends, we'll promote it because I'll be there tonight. Are you coming, Isaiah? I don't know if you're coming or not.
Potentially. It's probably like a 20% chance that I'll be there just because we have patients until like after 6 p.m. tonight. So there
is a chance.
There is a chance. Yes, there is a chance. But we have the event tomorrow, and so it just with my wife, I gotta pick and choose.
Yes. And you got 2 babies at home. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. We had Dr. Helen Gelhart on just recently. Wonderful lady, a very spiritual woman. And like I said, one of the things I love about her outside of the hospital administrations, she serves a great benefit to people that know somebody with Alzheimer's and or dementia, symptom reversal. It's complicated. She knows how to unwind the problem, if you will. Feel, think, look better. She likes to assist the divine healer, as she likes to say. The earliest cancer detection blood test available. Cancer control, screenings for heart attacks, screenings for strokes, the things that kill you, she specializes in, and she is a great service to the community. If you are somebody who is concerned about cancer, heart attacks, dementia, Alzheimer, you got to go to advancedwellnessmed.com. Join us tonight. She'll be there. 314-576-0094. We'll put out the information as to where to join us in just a bit. JonesWater.com. Had dinner with him and my son last night. What a terrific man. We were talking about water. In fact, he gave me some information. Let me look this up before we go too far, Isaiah. He was telling me this last night, and I don't want to mess this up because I promised him I would do this properly.
If you mess it up, he'll let you know.
He will let me know. He likes to bust me up a little bit. Where did I put this? We'll talk about it on Friday.
Yeah,
JonesWater.com. He's coming on Friday with Marissa, so his daughter's into New York, so they'll come on Friday. We'll get to it. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040, 636-899-1040. This is my pitch to everyone. If in the year 2026 and you're watching the show and you have not recognized that you simply cannot be healthy and drink tap water, right? Tap water and the environment, air and water is fundamental to good health. He provides these services. He's been around since 1995. A great guy. 636-899-1040, JonesWater.com. As he likes to say, you'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. It's one of the two. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. JonesWater.com for all of your air and water filtration needs for your home or business. Go to JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. If you want to do business with Everett and his family, on the Missouri side, it's St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the Illinois side, the east side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. JonesWater.com. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. 636-899-1040. And now let's bring in
free water testing. He does. What's the loop?
Free water testing. He's I'm telling you, air testing. He does the whole thing, and he's just become a good friend. So I want to promote his business as
Here's
best
the
I
event
can.
just for everyone.
Here's the event. Thank you so much.
A quick screenshot if you wanted to, but tonight on 7 p.m. at the police station there.
Yes, it'll be Act 4, Missouri. So you'll have Amy and Mike there. Act 4, Missouri. This is at 11500 Gravois in St. Louis, Missouri. The title says Principle Over Party, which is where you and I are at. Accountability over spin, bringing truth to the table. I will say this, because I'm a friend with a lot of Democrats and Republicans. I'm somebody who loves people, right? So I can be a friend wherever you're at on the spectrum of politics. I can still love you. We can disagree on many different things, but that doesn't mean I have to hate you. I don't hate the Republicans. I don't hate the Democrats.
You didn't scream at Randy Fine when you ran into him?
I didn't scream at Randy Fine. I disagree with every word that says. I don't really like where he comes from. In fact, it nauseates me where he comes from politically. But were we cordial to each other, Isaiah?
Yeah, very.
Right? So I just say to my Republican friends, we want your party to be better. If you're going to have power in this country moving forward, you have to get better as a party. Right now, you're not getting the job done. We're not buying into what you're selling, especially in Missouri. Our goal is to make you better, right? We want to believe what you're doing benefits the state of Missouri, but the most recent history would prove that that's not really the case. All right. So I just want to put that out there. Join us tonight one more time if you can, Isaiah, with that flyer. Act 4, Missouri, speaking at faith-based voters, St. Louis, June 17th. Tonight, I'll be there. Isaiah may be there. 20% chance. I mean, it's like Elvis. 20% chance to see Elvis. You'd line up for the tickets, wouldn't you? At the police station, 11500 Gravois, St. Louis, Missouri. Principle over party, accountability over spin, bringing truth to the table. Amy, Mike, myself, and a 20% chance of Isaiah. Can't beat it. Let's bring in Sean.
Let's do it.
Sean, I owe you a lunch one of these days. I really apologize. I had a feeling this was going to get tight because Dr. Shiva is he's just one of my favorite guests because I learned from him. He's a brilliant guy. But I want to make sure we brought you on today because you have things going on. You're going to run for the presiding commissioner of Franklin County. What say you about what's going on? How's your campaign going? What kind of response are you getting? And what do you want to get out to the public today?
Yes, sir. Thank you both for having me on. Really, the biggest thing that I am focusing on is trying to restore what I'm calling cautious trust, right? I do not believe that the people ever owe 100% trust to their government because we'll never agree on every possible debate that we could have. But there is what I would say next to no trust. right now, across the board, across the entire country, and that trickles down to the local level.
Got to
So
earn it.
what I'm exactly, and so one of the initiatives that my campaign just launched is the Heartbeat of Franklin County tour. And so what we're doing is we're setting up meeting spots, and we're going to go to we're combining some of the smaller, less densely populated townships. We're going to speak to every township within the county. And the whole point is to give you an opportunity to speak. I'm not going to sit here and stump and control, the whole agenda of these meetings. The point is for the people to get to know me, to ask me questions and say, hey, in our township, we are concerned about X, Y, and Z. And you will also have an optional opportunity to join the Heartbeat of Franklin County. It's going to be a group. It's not an extension of government like I was falsely accused on the radio of the other day. We're not expanding government. I'm not pro-government expansion. It is a voluntary group of people within the county to come together. And the crazy thing about it is I'm removing all bias in the selection process. So if you want to be part of it, you literally enter a drawing, and we're going to pull 2 to 3 people from every township to be part of this. And I'm not even going to pull the names out of the hat. I'm removing all the bias. So it doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. It does not matter. I'm not picking my friends, my buddies, so I only hear what I know I want to hear. No, that's not what this group is about. So we're taking a very unique approach to local politics that I've never seen done before by a candidate.
Who was trying to smear you, Sean? Who was trying to smear? I'm curious.
Well, it's members of the Republican Party in our area. I kind of like what you were talking about earlier, calling out people regardless of their party. Like, I am a Republican, but I am not very appreciative of what I'm seeing in the Republican Party in many areas, Missouri being one of them, Franklin County even being one of them. And so I used to be part of the Republican Central Committee. I resigned because I didn't feel right being on the committee while running for a countywide election. And at the end of the day, I'm seeing things like illegal campaign contributions being accepted and things of that nature. When I volunteered to be part of the Central Committee, I said, it doesn't matter what color your tie is, a ball's a ball and a strike's a strike with me. I'm going to call it out. Because I think you said we need to rebuild or make better, all parties really in America. And that's what my mission is. I want to represent the people. I want their voice to be heard. But I also want to be able to say, hey, here are the problems that we have. Here are the problem individuals that are going against the people's voice. How do we rectify that? Is it conversations with these individuals and go, okay, here, let's re-engage, let's go this way, this different path? Or do we need to look at potentially replacing them in elections? At the end of the day, the people's voice is what matters. A democracy, I'm getting sick and freaking tired of hearing people call us a democracy. Democracy is mob rule. We are a republic. The law of the land is the Constitution of the United States, period. No debating it, period. And we need to protect that. We need to elect people that are willing to protect that. That's why I got a little fired up with things going on locally. We have to make sure that the people are being heard.
Well, aren't you going up against Dave Schatz? And aren't the people of Franklin County just a little bit perturbed with Dave Schatz when he took down the community's ability to speak openly at one of the most recent meetings? Aren't people concerned about that?
Yeah, and,
Yes,
and
sir.
do you mind elaborating too, Sean, to help the audience understand the policy changes as well that were implemented at the meetings? I think it just changed yesterday as well.
Yeah, so yes, Rob, you are correct. That did occur. The policy changes, so they went from just no verbal comment to written only. And then I had talked to the commission once that kind of was going on and suggested, and it was actually, I'm going to put Tim Baker's name out there, put him on blast. It was his idea originally. Yep. To take the verbal comment portion that's relevant to the current agenda items for that meeting, front load that. And then all general comments that don't have anything to do with the agenda items, put that at the end. And so that's the policy change that I saw occur at the last commission meeting. And it does add a level of efficiency and effectiveness to government, which is a good thing. We don't want 30-second meetings and we don't want 24-hour meetings, but we do want some substance to our meetings. We want two-way communication. We want to leave feeling heard and knowing that we were heard and that change is being made in the right direction.
What I look at too when I was watching what was going down in Franklin County is, when you do those types of things, and I'm not making any judgment on what happened with that. For me,
Hmm.
whether the citizens are happy with you, whether they're aggravated with you, if they want to scream at
Hmm.
you, when you sign up to be a public servant, you have to take criticism. You cannot make 100% of the people happy. And whenever you
Hmm.
make a controversial decision, half the people are going to be very upset with you. That's just the way it is. And you got to take it and you got to sit before people and say, listen, here's why I made the decision that I did. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's where I'm at on the issues. This is what's going down. And if you do that, I think you're always going to have naysayers, but it builds trust when you communicate with. I know that's what Isaiah said. He goes, look, I'm going to go out and find out what the community wants to do. I'm an advocate for what my community wants. Now, if they're wrong on something, I may call a meeting and say, listen, you don't have all the information. Let me tell you what I know. I'm not hiding information from you. I'm sharing information with you so that we can make a decision for what is best for our constituents together. What I see going down there, when I saw what happened with the presiding commissioner, and I don't know Dave Schatz, I just don't know the man. But when I saw that happening and then him making excuses for it with Elliot Davis, I thought to myself, this guy's not understanding the importance of having trust within the community. Once you stifle the voice of citizens, there's an inherent distrust as to why you would be doing it. If people are screaming and yelling at you, it's not comfortable. I don't like people screaming and yelling at you or me and giving motives for what I'm doing. But as an elected representative, don't you have to just sit back and kind of take it and then say, listen, I hear you. I understand why you're upset. Here's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's where I'm at. I don't know why politicians have such thin skin right now. They have such thin skin. If you criticize them, they come back like they want to, like they're fighting. And I'm like, well, that's a constituent of yours. That's somebody that you're supposed to be representing. Does that make sense? Am I looking at it wrong? I mean, is it just
No.
because I like to fight back too, but I'm not a public official. You know what I
So
mean?
I had this conversation with Isaiah after his last alderman meeting. At the end of the day, the First Amendment rights that we have, it doesn't mean that you have to be comfortable hearing what I have to say about you, right?
Yes.
Freedom of speech can be uncomfortable, according to the First Amendment, if you really analyze it. And I told Isaiah, I said, he's an elected official, I'm not. There's a line there. I can tell him that I think, and I forgot I used a uncomfortable word. I could say that I think he's a jackass or something. I'm not saying that I do think that,
Right.
but I'm saying technically my First Amendment right allows me to say that about an elected official. I don't think it's necessary and I wouldn't say it, but there is a line. I couldn't threaten him physically. I can't threaten harm on him. And, we have to figure out what is the correct approach to ensure both sides have a level of respect. And I had mentioned this, I'm pretty sure I said it to Dave. I know I mentioned it to at least 2 of the 3 commissioners. I said, my approach would have been, let's have a level setting conversation, even if it's an additional meeting to their Tuesday and Thursday meetings. Let's just have what we're calling a level setting meeting. Have people come in and go, listen, I understand that both sides of this line feel a level of disrespect. So let's start over. Let's, set expectations on both sides and go, hey, if there are things that are considered threatening, we're going to have people removed, or maybe individuals who step out of line.
Right.
They are the ones that receive a punishment because, I was in the Army. When someone bought contraband during basic training and put it in their foot locker, we all got punished for that. And to me, that's not a solid way of handling things. You're going to make people that weren't already upset with you, and that's not okay. In this situation, we have to look at each case by case basis. And, I understand that you want to be a little proactive sometimes rather than reactive. But in this case, it was a touchy case. And I'm glad to see that the verbal comment came back and that we are adding a level of more efficiency and effectiveness to the meetings.
And Sean, you know why I think that happened? I've been meaning to talk to you about this.
Mhm.
One of the reasons I think that happened, I'm a fan of Elliot Davis. I was in Bible study with him for a bit. I got to just kind of watch him. I think he's a terrific reporter. And he showed up, and I think that his showing up and reporting on that brought it to people's attention to get it out to a broader audience. And I think that's what I mean about pressure, right? That puts enough pressure and enough awareness, as Dr. Shiva said, consciousness, to where things have to change. There was enough understanding that you can't stifle people's voices, whether you want to or not. You can't do that. And I think that pressure is what brought everything back to where people could have their voices heard again. Now, I could be wrong. Dave Schatz may have said, we're going to do this one time. But that doesn't make any sense to me either. Why would you do it one time? You're either going to shut it down or you're not. And I think Elliot Davis did a great service to the people of Franklin County, because that interview was seen by a lot of people. It brought the attention to the situation, and all of a sudden the situation had to revert back to freedom of speech, and you got to listen to what people have to say.
Well, an interesting thing that happened about a week ago was Dave Schatz read the commission order from 2012 that apparently backed up everything they did, saying, we're allowed to do this. We're within, the authority that, they have and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, that's interesting, and then he reads on about how this change that they made can be temporarily done. And I said, well, what's temporary mean? And neither the attorney nor him could answer what that meant, other than temporary is temporary. I'm like, well, there is literally no limitation on what temporary means in this commission order.
That's right. Very
So
vague.
essentially, do you get reelected and keep it going for 4 years? To me, that's a level of permanence more so than it is temporary, and it's just, it's a slippery slope. I can see arguments on both sides, but at the end of the day,
right,
there was more steps that could have been taken before they got to the point that Dave Schatz did.
I agree with you too. And I was going to ask you, have you made determinations on how you feel about the AI data centers? I know when I talked to Isaiah out there, and he's the alderman out in St. Clair, he said when he was knocking on doors for his election, it seemed to him that it was overwhelming that people were not in favor of AI data centers in their backyard. I think primarily due to resources, water, contamination of the land, and these type of things. I think Dave Schatz is saying it's a big economic boom for us. They can fund some schools and this kind of thing. As you are campaigning, what are you hearing about AI data centers in Franklin County? Or is this something that people are adamantly against? Is it 50-50? How do you see it? Because I know the loudest voices are against it, but what do you hear and what do you see so far?
So I think the last time I was on your show, I told you I heard from 9 people that say that, yes, we want them as proposed in our county, and 2 of them worked, 1 each for the developers. So you can't count them. So we were talking 7. Well, now if you remove those 2, I'm up to 10. And when was I on your show? Like 3 weeks ago. So,
Right.
10 residents are telling me that they want it. And, do I think there's more than 10? Absolutely, I do. But I think, when I see thousands of people show up in opposition and a large majority of these people actively speaking against them, that's what I'm hearing and seeing. So if there are people out there that want them, I've welcomed that conversation. Come talk to me. But I am under the impression, because let's be honest, let's call it 9,000 people are in opposition in the county. That is not, we have 76,000 registered voters and about 107,000 residents. But I still have to go by what I'm hearing and seeing as an elected official, right? So my assumption is a majority of the county probably just doesn't care either way. Approve it, don't approve it, it's fine, in my opinion. These are both being proposed in one district in our county in the same relative area. So I'm assuming there's a majority of people that are just, it's fine. We can do it or not, doesn't matter. So if that's the case, then the loud voices that we're hearing, these thousands of people, well, if you support them, I think that's a good thing, because if you're indifferent here and we've got no's here, then let's go with that.
Are you going to? I'm sorry, I was going to ask you
fine.
a couple more questions. Are you planning to, if let's say you win this race and you become the presiding commissioner of Franklin County, are you going to propose maybe monthly meetings to where you can hear from constituents? I don't know how the system is set up now. I just always think if I was a public official, I would want, first of all, I'd want the public to love me. I'd want them to know that I'm working hard on their behalf and I'm making decisions that benefit the majority of constituents, and I'm trying to keep them healthy, safe, prosperous, and I want to be a part of them. I don't want the government to be one side of the fence and the constituents on the other side of the fence. I would want to, I'm just thinking for myself, and I know Isaiah feels the same way. I want to be a part of people. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I want to understand you. I want you to know where I'm coming from. I want you to know who I am so I know who you are. Do you see it that way? Would you have monthly meetings or something so that people, if they have issues, they can come right to you and begin the process of discussion?
Yes. So really quick, to tie up what I was saying is, right now I'm a no on this. I think it's spot zoning, and, I'm looking at a majority. If they're indifferent and no, then that's how we need to vote. Now, to answer your question, I would want to do at least monthly town hall meetings that are, formal, real town hall meetings, not controlled testimony, public comment type of meetings. I think that's important. And part of the heartbeat of the county group that we're trying to create is part of that. This isn't me just saying I only want to hear from those individuals that join this group. they're going to be kind of like liaisons, because not everybody can or wants to speak up directly to government officials. So this is a group I want to have it formed before the election and carry through after. And if I lose the election and they want to support the winner, that's great. The point is that the voices are heard. And so, you know, they will literally be like their neighborhood liaisons. And we are, I'm going to shamelessly plug it real quick. We do have 2 of those events planned. And again, it's by township. So on Tuesday, the 23rd, we have Bowles and Calvi Township. And that'll be at the Senior Center in Pacific at 800 West Osage Street. And then we have on 6/24, the following day, St. John's Township, Washington, will be at Moe's Pizza, 499 Grand Avenue. Both of those events start at 6 o'clock.
A landmark in Washington, Missouri, Moe's Pizza. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. And so, you know, you can show up if you just want to meet me. You know, this isn't something where we're trying to force you into this, you know, this group. This group is going to be very grassroots, very comfortable. It's not something that's going to be highly formal, overly structured. I just want the people to know that they're heard.
Amen. You have a mouse race coming up because I think you're trying to raise some money for your campaign. Do you want to promote it real fast? I think that
absolutely.
I think Isaiah is going to be there. He's going to speak on behalf of the show because we're supporting you. I mean, I want to be upfront and honest that we are supporting what you're getting done. And a lot of it has to do, honestly, Sean, I don't know you very well. I don't think we've ever met in person. If we have, I don't remember. And I apologize if that's the case because, you know, you get out in public, sometimes you forget things. But your treasurer is somebody that I have a lot of trust in, somebody who I have a lot of trust in, and he speaks highly of you. Family speaks highly of you. And I thought, you know what? I know these people. I know where their hearts are at. I know that they understand what's going on in Franklin County very well. And if they're supporting of Sean Knoll, so am I. I know they know a lot more about what goes on the ground in Franklin County than I do. So by association, I think you're in good hands. If you want to promote the mouse race and want to promote your campaign, get it out there. So if people want to join us, they can.
Absolutely. So the details on the mouse race, that's Saturday, June 27th, and that'll start at 6 p.m. It's at the American Legion, post 297. The address is 205 North Washington Avenue, and that's in Union, Missouri. We're going to do best costume for America's 250th anniversary outfit.
Nice.
Best in women's, children, and men's. And we're going to have all kinds of raffle baskets. I mean, things you wouldn't even think about seeing, like these silly Neato toys that all the kids want. Parents are standing in thunderstorms for hours at a time. We're raffling off a Allegiance flag kit. So that's all American source raw material, American labor, fair labor wages, all made here in the U.S. All kinds of handmade, local made patriotic home decor. And I've heard possibly even a huge fireworks raffle that we're going to be doing. So all patriotic, as local as we can make it. As far as the sponsorships and the raffle items. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be fun.
Very exciting. So there's a costume. I was told that Isaiah, he told me, he gave me a kind of secret. He said he's going to wear an American flag Speedo with a George Washington hair wig. And I thought, you know what?
With sunglasses.
I might have to fly in from Florida to check that out because I definitely want to see that. Sean, great to see you, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you.
So if you need me for anything, just let me know. We want to make sure that you're heard. And that's it, man. We'll see you at the mouse races. I know at least Isaiah, I may be there, but we'll definitely contribute to your campaign.
Sounds great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Sean. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank
Isaiah, you. If you could do an AI video of that or an AI picture of that,
Isaiah,
that'll get people. That'll get people.
Instead of the Delaware, just make it the Mississippi, right? Behind the arch behind me or something, right?
Your wife is on the chat. She said, okay, good Lord.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. I did want to say, and I think Sean will appreciate this if he's still listening, is that talking about the 10%, right? Is, oh, you know, people are trying to kind of dismissing because they feel like it's not the majority, right? But that 10% of people that are speaking up and using their voice, right, are the ones who are against it. Well, only 10% of the county, of any city, votes for their elected officials. And we let them run the city.
Yeah.
We let them run the county.
Yeah.
And that's only 10% of the people that are voting. So you're saying that doesn't that's irrelevant too. So your position that you're getting voted in with 10% of these people, that's completely irrelevant because it's only 10% of the people.
Good point. I
don't know. Seems like a I hate when people, and I don't like to use the word hate because I don't really hate, but I really strongly dislike when people use rules for thee and not for me. You know what I mean? That's I just hate. I don't like to use the word hate. I
I think
really
you and I,
strongly dislike it.
yeah, as I've gotten to know you, I think you're like a young me,
Yeah,
right? You're very similar to the way I am. You
very.
understand your worth. You do not like disrespect. Disrespect you get when that guy called you from MMTLP called you the boy producer.
Producer boy. Oh yeah.
Producer boy, I watched how you said, okay, you producer, all right. And I'm that way now, but when I was young, I did not, sometimes when you're young and you're ambitious and you're intelligent and you're and you feel like you need to have your voice heard, right? Which is the way I was, and I feel you're the same way. Disrespect doesn't work very well with you, right? It's kind of
No.
we're kind of on the same page. And I feel like your generation, if we had more people that said, listen, I will hear you, you have to hear me,
Mhm.
right? Too many people want to just look up into this. It's what Dr. Steve was talking about. You look up and you see these people that are in positions of authority,
Yeah.
and they expect you to just follow them to wherever they want to
Blindly.
go without questioning what's going on, without saying, wait a minute, what about this, and this? And you're supposed to be able to answer me. I think that your generation, and I don't know what it is, and I don't even know if it's anything unique. I just think we may have skipped a couple of generations
Mhm.
that kind of lost critical thought because of the overwhelming amount of indoctrination that comes from the schools, from our political leadership, from culture in general, right? From the entertainment culture, and from our politicians, right? That overwhelming amount of propaganda, I think, conditioned people's minds
Yeah.
to where they would hear something from somebody they trusted and they quit asking questions.
Yes.
I always say maybe you shouldn't be trusting everybody. Maybe you should have like Sean said,
Yeah.
you want to have some trust in people, but they have to earn that trust. They have to gain that trust. And if they
Yeah.
haven't earned or gained that trust, then don't just throw it at them. Right? Do you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying, Isaiah? Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like you and I are on that same page where as long as you respect me and have a conversation with me, we can learn from one another. I may disagree with you, but we're okay. It's what you said about Randy Fine. You and I, neither one of us like Randy Fine. I think
No, he
Randy
would pull
Fine
up and you know what he's got on his pin jacket, and I was like triggered by it. Is he doesn't have an American flag? No, but he's got a hammer with the Israeli flag on his lapel, and I'm like, you're a U.S. congressman, you don't have an American flag pin, but you're gonna. Sorry, that just but that's how I'm feeling when he comes up to talk to us.
Right.
But we still gave him the
And we just said, look,
We're jealous.
and that's what we said about if we go into Washington, D.C., and by the way, we have to plan our next Washington, D.C. trip. We need to do that in July. That's one of the things you and I talked about when we were in D.C. If we were just doing this for clicks, I could make big news walking around Washington, D.C., right? Because I know these people.
I almost did with that police officer, didn't I?
You almost did. Yeah, you almost got us arrested, by the way. And because he was disrespectful. That's what bothered you. I could tell right on your face. He was just disrespectful. He could talk to you and he got disrespectful and I could tell your mood started to change.
Oh yeah.
And I keep telling people, if we were trying to just be I don't even know what the word for it is. If we were looking for attention, undue attention, right? Just to make attention.
Mm-hmm.
I know these politicians. When I was working at News Talk, just for an example, this guy named Phil Valencia, he was the one that was producing the show. And he said, Rob, what you might be really good at because of the way you think is to be like a Carl Cameron. Do you remember the name Carl Cameron by chance? He was a reporter.
Sounds very familiar.
They called him Campaign Carl Cameron.
Hmm.
And Campaign Carl Cameron would go around to all of the campaigns and he would report for Fox News. And he said, what you should do is maybe look through all of the Congress people, all of the senators, get their backgrounds and kind of understand who's who in the races at the federal level. And I did that. So I left the station, but had I not left the station, I did that. I started looking at all the politicians. So for the most part, I know 80% of the House reps and the senators. I know their backgrounds. I know where they went to school. I know their associations. I know what they believe in. I know what they're up to. So you can only imagine if I wanted to interview anybody walking along the streets who I know their background, the kind of questions I could ask of them, the way I could pin them down, the way that I could embarrass them. I could do all kinds of different things just simply to get clicks and attention. You and I talked about that, and I said, that might be good for the Robb Carter show.
Yeah.
That's not good for getting things done because as soon as you get the label of being inflammatory as you're walking around DC, nobody's going to talk to you. So we have to make the decision that we go around to a guy like Randy Fine, who honestly is repulsive to me. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
But we were not there to try to embarrass Randy Fine. We were there to try to get information from Randy Fine and his opinion, and then let the audience decide how they view Randy Fine. Fair enough? Did we all agree on that? I mean, you're my witness. Is that how we talked?
Yes. So we always go back to this book right here, the Bible, right? We're always trying to, even though we're human, we fail, we mess up, we get mad, right? We use the word hate. We're not supposed to, but the Bible does tell us, and it's something that I've struggled with personally. I can be completely transparent and honest, but it says to honor those in power. That doesn't mean that you're going to blindly follow them. That's not what that means, right? But when you honor someone, that means you approach them like you did with Randy Fine, right? That's being cordial. That's having disagreements, but being able to say, hey, we disagree, but I want to learn what you are saying and what your viewpoint is, so that I can expand my views, right?
Correct.
And
don't you think, Isaiah, when you watched Randy Fine, and because we got to know him, we sat down, talked to him, don't you think that he believes what he's saying?
Exactly. That's my point. Is that he's not
people that believe what they're saying.
He's not out there saying like, oh, let me calculate this propaganda piece that I have to get out there. That's not what he's. That's not what he's
despised and hated for his beliefs, but he believes it. I'm not with it, but he believes it, and that's why I don't really want to.
I think it's the same thing with, like you say, with Mike Koslow, right? It's like, hey, willing to talk, willing to, do
Mike Koslow. Say what you want about Mike Koslow. He has a lot of people who listen to the show do not like Mike Koslow's politics, but I always say Mike Koslow is willing to jump into the fray. He's willing to have the conversation. What else can you ask for? If you disagree with a politician, he's still going to talk to you. That's why I give the guy credit. All right. Going to get through a couple more advertisements here.
Yeah.
Because it's lunchtime.
I just got Moe's. Who else do you want to do?
Let's do Moe's Pizza real fast.
When it's lunchtime.
When it's lunchtime, it's time for Moe's Pizza. My man, Mike Johns. I'm going to get a billboard, I think, Isaiah. I just texted Mike Johns yesterday, Moe's Pizza.
Nice.
We're ending the show. We'll just talk a little bit out loud. I want to get a billboard in Washington, Missouri, and tie it to our show and Moe's Pizza, because I just think what they have done for me, Moe's Pizza has been great to the city of, to Washington, Missouri, Franklin County. He allows for all kinds of, we go there free and put on presentations, right? He gives us his space, his time. He always feeds me when I go in there. I just think he's a patriot, and I like people, and I want his business to, I think he's doing really well, by the way. Last time I went in there, it was packed, but I think it should be, I think people of Washington, Missouri should recognize that they got a real patriot on their hands with Mike Johns and his lovely wife. So if you can participate, and you like pizza, everybody likes Moe's Pizza, don't they?
Sean says Moe's Pizza is God's pizza. That's right.
Amen. God owns the place. He just works there. He wanted to make sure I understood that. Moe's Pizza in Washington, Missouri. If you have any kind of gathering coming up, they have banquet space available for any kind of gathering, but for birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, and Bible studies, they'll take care of you. Pizza and salad bar, delicious sandwiches, ice cream, chicken wings, all the things that I devour and love, and I need to be very careful with because I eat too much of it when I get started. But they will take care of you at Moe's Pizza, a landmark in Washington, Missouri. If you haven't seen it, it's a landmark. Got a lot of property out there. When we showed up, Isaiah, to do our show from there, that's one of my favorite pictures. I should get that picture and put it on the wall because I was so proud. Somebody that came there, they said, man, this place is packed, and they took a picture of Moe's Pizza. And he's got a huge parking lot. It was 100%.
They weren't even open when we started the show. That technically.
Exactly. And then there are cars all along the street. And I thought, what a great testament to what we're trying to get accomplished, because the people of Washington, Missouri understand that they may not agree with everything that we say, but they know that we're trying to do the right thing, and they've supported us. Moe's Pizza has supported us. I just can't tell you how grateful we are for that support.
I think that's what we want out of the Republican Party.
Yes.
That's exactly. We just want to be able to have differences of opinion and still be able to have everyone at the table, I think.
Correct. Amen. Moe's Pizza, Washington, Missouri. When it's time for lunch, get out there to Moe's. Grand and 5th Street in Washington, Missouri. I fit the address. Oh, there he is.
Got to show him off.
Very handsome man. Let me get these in.
My wife says she could talk to Brenda forever. She said,
Brenda's cool.
She said, we could go to lunch and talk forever.
I think Brenda is his sweetheart. I like families that are able to work together. It's like you and your wife, right? You're going to go into the office. You get to work with each other. I just think it's a great thing. Honey, if you're listening, I would like you to work with me as well. I can't be a nurse. She can work on the Rob Carter show. But I can't work with her.
Once we get things rolling, right? We can get things rolling and
just
can work out.
If that's what God wants for us, that's the way it's going to go down.
Yes, exactly.
Let me give a shout out to Kit's Speed Shop. This is another, he just said, Rob, listen, I don't necessarily need the advertising, but I want to support the show. Kit's Speed Shop, where it's fun to go fast. Kit does unique and classic transmission work. Are you into old cars, Isaiah?
I mean, I like them, but I am I don't care about cars. Like
I
I'm
don't either,
indifferent.
except for
Yeah,
old cars.
yeah.
It's interesting you
But
say
old
that.
cars, I like my favorite. You might not even know this car. One of my favorite old cars is a Buick Skylark.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, I know
Okay,
that.
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on now.
It's
He
one
had
of my
he sent me a
favorites.
picture from his. I think he's got it almost looks like a hangar, big garage. And by the way, the floors, like from Rat Custom Coatings, his floors,
Ooh,
they were fantastic.
of course.
Anyway, he had these 2 old cars on it, and I said, "Oh, those are absolutely awesome." The only thing I really dig about cars are the old cars when they used to make them unique. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, Isaiah, but you can't tell a Toyota from a Honda, from a Mercedes,
Isn't
from
that
a
what we
whatever.
were talking about when we were driving to DC? We were like, look at
Can't
it, look
tell
at
the
these
cars
SUVs.
apart
These are
anymore.
three different SUV brands, and they all look the same.
You can't tell. You can't tell. I'm like, outside of the inside, I mean, outside of the way the car looks on the inside and the leather and the this and that and the other, maybe some of the technology in the car, you can't even tell the cars apart anymore. But if you go back to
Oh, look at that.
1955, 1965, you have all these really classic old cars that have these incredible body styles that are very
Yeah.
recognizable. That's where Kit likes to spend his time. It says Kit does a unique and classic transmission work in Sedalia, Missouri. Where is Sedalia? I forgot where Sedalia is. Isaiah, do you know?
Sedalia, I feel like that's in
I know I've been
mid
there. I used to sell newspaper
mid
subscriptions
Missouri,
door to door,
right?
and I remember we were in Sedalia one time, but I was 12 years old. I don't remember. That's when people used to work when they were 12, Isaiah, when you had
Yeah.
work ethic back in
Oh,
those
well, it
days.
is a little bit closer to Kansas City.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Kit does unique and classic transmission work in Sedalia, Missouri, in Hangar 5. It is a hangar. I was right. And is well known for his vast expertise and knowledge when it comes to transmission repair. No classic car. Maybe you own a plane. I have some friends that own planes. One of them's, I'm sure, listening today. Kit is also a certified A&P and IA, which is everything airplane owners are on the lookout for. Kit loves what he does, loves what we do here on the Rob Carter Show, and simply wanted to support our mission. Kit's Speed Shop in Sedalia, Missouri. Check them out. How do they get a hold of Kit's Speed Shop? Is it the website there? Because he didn't put.
There's a Facebook.
It's
Yeah,
on
let me go
Facebook.
ahead. Yeah, let me go ahead and double check if there is a website.
And thank you, Kit, for the support, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yes. It looks like you can get a hold of them at 660-909-6000. 660-909-6000. Or you can look up Kit's Speed Shop on Facebook. Here, I'll throw this up. Oh, there we go. Kit's Speed Shop on Facebook there. Go ahead, and I'm on my Alderman page, so I'll give him another follow here. I got
Nice.
two pages, so I can give him 2 follows. And here at Hangar 5, 3311 East Broadway in Sedalia. Looks like you can also
I could have
email
done some big work with
Lindsay
him.
at startmail.com.
I could have done some business with him. My ex-father-in-law, who's now passed away, he collected old cars, had money. He was one of these guys that you didn't know he had 2 nickels to rub together when you saw him, but he had a lot of cash. And he used to collect old cars and keep them in his garage out in Bethalto, Illinois. If you can, Bethalto, Illinois is. Yeah, he had a good time with Kit. They would have hit it off very quickly. And then last one, Rack Custom Coatings. Rack Custom Coatings. This is the guy that I tell you about, Rich McQuay. If you have any kind of industrial space and need the flooring redone, inexpensive in comparison to putting tile or any kind of flooring in. Kit does. It's epoxy, right? Isn't that what it's called? Epoxy flooring.
Epoxy.
For the most part. Family owned and operated since 2001. He does incredible work. If you see some of the pictures on there, it's fantastic. I know I'm throwing you a curveball here, Isaiah. I apologize. But as he says, this is Rich McQuay. He says, I install industrial strength, long lasting coatings built to handle anything your home or business can throw at it. From garages to commercial spaces, Rack, R-A-K, Custom Coatings delivers tough, beautiful finishes that last. My friend Lori and Greg, they're having their garage done. They sent me a text the other day. You can reach him at 636-398-5040. You can see all of the flooring that he has on his website. Absolutely beautiful work where quality meets craftsmanship. You can reach out to him at 636-398-5040. And I tell everybody every time I mention Rack Custom Coatings, I had this done at my old home. And I'll just say this, if you're somebody who is very particular about your house, the one thing you always forget about, Isaiah, you know it to be true, right? You always forget about your garage floor. You'll have this beautiful home, which we did. And I had 5 kids I was raising in the house. We had 4-car garage, and it would just had oil stains. And I had this beautiful home. and you'd open up your garage. You almost want to shut your garage door real fast because it had the cobwebs in the corner and the dirt
Oh
in
yeah.
the corner and the oil stains on the floor.
That's what my wife, she always gets on me. She's like, you got to clean the garage. All right. You need to
Come on,
keep it in order.
And my buddy Ryan, who might be listening, he's in the hospital. Ryan, I hope you feel better, brother. He's in the hospital. He goes, I can do your garage floor for you. And I wanted to help him out at the time, and I said, I didn't really care, Isaiah, to be honest with you. I just wanted to help the guy out just so he can do the floor. He does the floor. I think I was on vacation, not on vacation, but on a work trip. I come back and he had my floor, my whole garage redone. And I open up the garage door and I'm like, oh, that looks freaking awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I just say that's my personal experience with it. Ryan will.
It starts with the floor, then you get the cool lights, then you start decorating the walls, right? It gets.
Well, you know how it is in Missouri. A lot of people like to take care of their garages because they open them up. They put the big screen in there. They have
sit there. It's
football parties
just
over in
there
your
all.
garage. Right. It's
like the Florida. In Florida, for people who don't know or don't go to Florida a lot of houses have those screened in back porches. I'm sure you guys have a screened in back porch or something similar. And that's like such a Florida thing, right? But the garage and sitting in your garage in your lawn chair, that's like the most Missouri thing that you could do.
I have a buddy of mine. And he has parties all the time in his garage. And he's got the whole thing set up. He's turned his garage into like a man cave. And he's got we go over there and watch football. And he's got the TVs everywhere. He's got all the football helmets. He collects football helmets on the right side. He's got the
very fun.
He's got all he's got a fender. My buddy Gordy that played baseball with me. He's got his fender on the thing, his signed fender from his race car. And I thought it was so cool. Mike, he's got plenty of money. Mike, you should get your floor done. That'd be absolutely fantastic for that garage that looks so fantastic.
Great place you can go donate is People Lobby Mo, Mike. People's Lobby Mo.
Go, Mike. Baby. He's working, I think. I don't know if he can listen. If he is, he's doing it in his headphones. Isaiah, what else do we have today? Is there anything else?
No, just want to keep letting people know we are working on the website. So excited. We just spoke yesterday to
now, Isaiah. You want to show it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let me pull it up here. We can show it off for a minute. And
so I think Max is going to write for he's going to write for it. Larry, I don't know if Larry's going to write for it or not. So I have another buddy, Larry, who's a writer. So they'll write for it. You'll be fascinated by Max. Max will send me every once in a while. I'll get an email from Max or a text message from Max, and he'll say, I wrote this to solve he's a problem solver. I think he used to contract with the DOD, and he'll send me these things. They'll be like 50 or 60 pages long. I'm like, Max, read 50 or 60 pages. I can barely read two. I got a very short attention span.
People have a short attention span, right?
But if you are into these type of things, you'll be blown away by Max. I think Max could solve cancer in a few hours if he put his mind to it. And he is there's the website. So there's the new website coming up. What I want to do,
you can see right here. It's already today's episodes right here. You can click it. If you click it, it'll start playing. See
what I want to do.
You can
check it out. You can listen already.
Yeah, you can listen right here.
Wow.
Yep. So this will just play audio only right there. You can watch. That's for people. I know everyone wanted audio, so we added that so that you can just click listen and just listen to the show live. We'll be building more of these things out, but we'll have the recent episodes everywhere you can follow us. Great picture of me, Rob, and Thomas Massey there. And look at that. I know everyone's been asking. We're working on it.
We are going to get
that shirt is not a real shirt. It's just a placeholder, but we're getting some
bad looking shirt. Is that like a mock-up of a shirt? Let me see that real fast.
Yeah, look at that. Not bad, right? I was like, dang, Tom.
Can you flip it up? I guess so. That looks actually pretty good.
I know. I said, dang, Tom.
Funny ones though, Isaiah. I want to wear ones that are kind of funny when I'm doing the show.
I love Israel.
I want to get one that says learn Hebrew immediately. So this picture in the corner right there, there's Moe's Pizza. There's Mike John, his lovely wife Brenda, and then the picture behind that is my buddy Curtis. Now Curtis was a professional softball player. He's a 5-time Hall of Famer. I went to high school with him. He was a stud ball player. We played baseball growing up together on the same team. I lost touch with him because I left Rittner High School and went to Pattonville. He got involved in a gang. I think it was the Gangster Disciples or something of this nature.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he was the leader of this. It's a major organization. He was the leader of it at like 19 or 20 years old. He ended up getting out of the gang, getting into professional softball. He had a sexual relationship in high school, right? You know how like you're a senior in high school and you're dating a freshman?
Yep.
He had that situation. White girl, black guy, father finds out. They put the sexual predator tag on him like he's a pedophile.
Oh, man. Yeah.
For the rest of his life, he's my age. He wants to coach. He wants to, he's got a bat. He's got a bat with his name on it. He's an amazing ball player. and he can't do any of the things that he wants to do because they've
Wow.
labeled him a pedophile all the way back into the 1980s, and he can't get this off of his record. He is right now in the they have a feature film coming out about him. So he has been working with the production company. They're making a
Wow.
feature film about his life. Former
Very
gangster,
wild.
professional softball player. He's been, for what now, 35 years. He's been labeled a sexual predator because he was he was dating I think it was a freshman when he was a junior or a senior. The whole thing is crazy, but that's Curtis Wilson right there. A lot of people that
Wow.
know me know him.
Yeah.
And there you go.
I mean, I think that there's probably half of America would be then
My father.
pedophile. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
My
It's
father
like
heard
that.
the story, said, I dated your mom. I was a senior. She was a freshman when we
Yeah,
met.
exactly. So
Right?
it's
Different era. That wasn't
different, very, very different. Someone was just talking to us about that. I was just talking to someone about that, how that's very different now. And it's changed. But David Wilkerson, you ever heard of David Wilkerson? He wrote a book called what was it? The Cross and the Switchblade back in the 60s. And so really good book. I highly recommend everyone read it. It's basically about, I think, if I remember right, essentially he grew up in and he was like having some bad influence, and he was starting to witness to teenagers essentially in these gangs. And he's the creator of something called Teen Challenge, which is an organization that a ministry that helped a lot of teenagers get out of rough environments essentially and things like that. And so I haven't read the book in, man, I don't know, 15 years, almost 20 years, but I remember reading it.
Books, Isaiah?
Yeah, I still read books. Can you believe it?
I have not read a book in a long time. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I used to read like an insane person. I used to like to read. I like to read. As I've gotten older, I'm noticing that when I start to read, and I don't know if there's a cure for this, I'll be in, like, even when I read the Bible, I'll read 2 or 3 pages and my eyes are they're aching.
Yeah.
And it makes me really tired and almost gives me anxiety to read small print. It's almost like any book where the letters are much bigger. And it's not my eyesight. I see the words fine. It's just that I get this almost like headaches and anxiety when I'm reading. And what is going on? And I can read off my phone all day long, but I can't read when I'm reading books. It does this to me. What is happening, do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe I should
I
ask
think
that.
it's so a lot of, like, they talk about the like how cell phones have really messed us up because of the dopamine hits that we get and things like that. And I really think that that's something, I don't know, I'm not a medical person, right, at all, but I really think that there's something to that because I mean, I grew up, everyone's reading, it's for fun. You're reading, not that I'm reading some, something about the Constitution all the time, right? I'm reading Harry Potter, I'm reading the Boxcar Children, I'm reading, the Hardy Boys, and, stuff like that too.
You know what I read when I was a kid, Isaiah? What if you've ever
that?
heard of it? I know we're going a little bit late here, but now we'll just kind of play with each other.
Okay.
Do you remember the book, books Encyclopedia Brown?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I read every Encyclopedia Brown.
I read a lot of Encyclopedia Browns.
Oh yeah, when we were kids, they had what they called the what was it called? The bookmobile, and they would bring a book to you, like almost like a trailer.
Yeah, it's like a trailer, and then you go in. It's like a bookshop in there, right?
Yeah, and you could go in there and get books, and then they would hand you at this is 4th grade, I remember. They would hand you this. It was almost like you could pick books, and it would lay out all the books, and you could pick them. And I'll say this about my mom: we didn't have a lot of money, right? We did not have a lot of money when I was young. It didn't matter how many books that I wanted. If my mom thought if I was reading, that would be good. And I remember I was always getting 7, 8, 9, 10 books. Everybody else would get 1 or none or whatever. And I was always getting a ton of books. My mom said, if you're reading, we'll figure out a way to pay for it. Because even back then, 10 books, I think back in those days, they were like $1.50, something like that nature. But even back in those days, somebody would pay 15, 20 bucks every month for books. My mom was down with it.
It's awesome.
Yep. And I love to read, and I still even like to watch, Isaiah, mysteries. I like to try to figure out, that's why I like the Datelines and the 2020s and this kind of thing, because I'd love to figure out what happened. Who, you start to go through the characters, and and I've always been fascinated by crime novels, true crime mysteries. That's why we are so fascinated with Jeffrey Winehouse. I haven't talked to Jeff in a while, and I think Jeff's probably upset with me. I have my phone off, and the guy calls me between 5 and 6. I always am right in the middle of dinner or doing something. He's probably thinking this guy was going to help me, and he went away. Jeff, if anybody's listening who talks to Jeffrey Winehouse, I promise you, my friend, we did not give up on your story.
No.
Everything.
We told many people in Washington, D.C. about you.
Well, we have the clip of me walking with Bob Onder, where I'm telling
Yeah.
him the story. One of the things I get frustrated with the Republican Party, you have an innocent man in prison. It's that simple. You have an innocent man who did absolutely nothing wrong. He's a reporter. He's supposed to be protected by our society, and you guys put him in prison for 30 years.
That's what it is. I was trying to think. Sean just said, "Yeah, book it." That's what it was called. We got free Pizza Hut. So
That's what it was called?
Yeah, that's what ours was. I don't know what we had a very similar thing. I don't know how it evolved over the years.
That wasn't mine.
Yeah, we got free Pizza Hut or something like that, and yeah, they had all these incentives always. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that was something that it did help me as someone who was was poor, very poor. I mean, like not just poor, but very poor. My mom is
Like no
smoking-
shoes kind of poor.
Yeah, exactly. My mom's smoking meth and working at Waffle House. Okay, so nothing.
Uh-huh.
And but if I read enough books, I could get Cardinals tickets. If I read enough book, I could get free pizza. If I read enough books, I could get whatever, right? And so I think that really incentivized me to read a lot. And then I just fell in love with reading because I
What
could
did you like
escape.
to read?
I could
what was your
escape.
thing?
Yeah, I could escape my reality.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes, I
And
understand.
so,
completely.
mysteries were the big one because I always liked
Same with me.
I like to figure out if I could solve them before I got to the end. And so that was something that I really, really like to do is like, okay, can I figure this out before I get to the end of the book? Can I,
Right.
figure out who did it? What's, with all these clues that they're laying out. I always found that very fascinating. That's why I was the Hardy Boys, Boxcar Children, Encyclopedia Brown. Those are my go-to. And then Harry Potter was always very fascinating to me just because of the world that I felt like I created in my mind when I was reading the fantasy.
My daughter loved Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Loved it. And she's 20, she'll be turning 22 next month. So it must have been that era where everybody was reading Harry
Yep.
Potter.
Oh yeah.
All right, Isaiah. We got to shut it down at some point. Anything else you got for me?
No, just got my new iPhone finally. Got my new phone.
What'd you get?
For everyone who doesn't know, apparently you have to have your ID scanned front and back to get a new cell phone.
No way.
Who knew that?
Seriously?
Yeah, remember I told you I couldn't
You
get
did
it.
tell me that. I didn't know it was. I didn't know. I thought it was just that.
That's what we
particular
found
store.
out. Yeah, so it's not just showing your ID; they have to scan the front and scan the back
What's the
to
reason
get a
for that?
phone. Yeah, to get a phone. That's just because
That wasn't for your credit card or anything. That was just like in order to have a phone, you had to. I mean,
and it's because it's like a plan or something. It's like I guess it's because it's a no interest payment plan that we qualify for, right? And so it's like it's the same price as if we paid it in full, but they're letting us pay it over 24 months. You know what I mean?
yes.
And so we qualified for something like that. And I guess that's why. But I've never had to do that before. I feel like they already, don't you have all that information already?
I remember you were not very happy about it.
Well, don't you? You have all the information already. You have all of our information. So we can verify, send us a text message, send us an email, do anything, right?
Credit card's your verification for the most
verify.
part.
Exactly. Yeah.
I gotta ask you.
And it's so interesting to me. It's just different people, how people are different than us, Rob. Whenever I go in places, the employees want to make almost every excuse why they can't do something, why they can't get something done.
I think it's their job not to be able to get anything done.
Yeah. And then when I present solutions, they're just like, whoa, you're right. I guess we could do that. It's like, and then it's also that I think they think that spending any type of money, no one's going to want to do. They're like, oh, yeah, you got to pay $150 for this. I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it right now. Here you go. Do you need my card? Let's do it. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I guess we can keep going in the process because you paid the money. And it's like, okay. But they're just bringing up everything. And I'm sorry to interrupt you and kind of go on the tangent here, but it was, I don't know. It just kind of is crazy to me that that's people's mindset is like, my job is to help you figure out how we don't do this, even though I'm trying to make money for the company.
I know. It's fascinating. It really is. I was going to say, do you know who, you know Russell Brand, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So tomorrow on the show, I'll give a quick preview because you get mad at me because I don't promote very well. And you're right. I'm terrible. I'm going to get back. I promise you. I'll be the
You're not terrible. No.
I'm terrible. I'll be
you're good at it. And if when you do it, you're good at it. That's why I want you to do it.
I'll be the number one promoter of the Rob Carter Show moving forward. I'm going to start today. The number one promoter in the country of the Rob Carter Show. How about that? But my buddy Jim Gale, We just went and saw Jim Gale.
Yeah,
He's
that's
running
right.
for president. He was actually a speaker in Florida because he lives in Central Florida by me. He's running for president. He's well financed. He's an interesting guy. He's not somebody you'd see as a typical politician. And he is kind of saying what Dr. Shiva was.
Mm.
Once you get your independence, once you learn how to be independent, then you're free. And from whatever you want to do, whatever institutions you want to believe in, however you want to live your life, you have to be free. And in order to do that, you have to be creating your own food. So he bought this land down in Central Florida and he took all the pesticides out of it. He's got food growing everywhere. He's got butterflies and bugs, and he's got this beautiful home on it. But it's just all free of all pesticides, all everything, and he calls it a food farm. So he decided he is going to run for president. He spoke at Paul Renner. He's running for governor of Florida. He's the former speaker of the House in Florida.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to come back on the show. He goes, I'd love to. I go, all right, when you want to do it. So we got him scheduled for 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow. Very interesting character. He's one of those dreamer type guys, right? You know, one of those guys that can say, you know, this is the way life should be. And maybe I can drag people to a better life if they don't get so confined by the system that we live in. I think people will find him very charming and endearing. I think he's a great guy. Jim Gale tomorrow at 11. He's running for president of the United States. And I think he's a little bit like Dr. Shiva. Doesn't matter whether he wins. He wants to have influence and raise consciousness about what it actually means to be free. So Jim Gale tomorrow at 11.
I would love to talk to him about the honeybees. You know, it's a big thing that I don't know if you know, I guess we need honeybees to pollinate and do these things. I don't understand it all, but
he'll know.
He'll know. And so I'm curious to hear from someone who knows more, because they're talking about how we need to save the bees and we need to make, you know, keep the bees going and things like that. So I'm sure he has bees on his farm.
I like bees.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting. We don't think, sometimes I think I never even knew that we needed to have
bees, got to have bees. Yes.
And it's like we have to have trees, we have to have bees, and it makes me just.
That's how you know there's a creator. That's why when people.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like I can't understand, or I can't comprehend how people don't understand intelligent design. But that's.
You know what I think it is, and you and I should get in. I think Dr. Helen Gelhot, she texted me this morning. She said she has a Catholic whistleblower who wants to come on the show.
Wow.
You and I should do a show and lay it out. So here are things that I just want to tell, you know, if you're with us this long, you're probably a loyal listener. There are things that Isaiah and I want to do as far as concepts, because again, you got to let the show grow, and then we got to find out what we're doing wrong. You say I'm not promoting enough, and I agree with you. You got to find out how you're being algorithm. You got to find out whether your thumbnails put you into a certain category to where people are not going to be able to find. You have to find out what's interesting to people, right? Because you and I find a lot of things interesting that the masses may not find interesting, right? But I think we should have a theological conversation at some point, talking about. I'd like to have an imam on, Isaiah. I'd like to have the Catholics on. I would like to have. I would
have a rabbi.
I would have a rabbi, and of course, I would like to have a. You were giving me trouble the other day. I'd like to have the Latter-day Saints on. You know, for me, it doesn't really matter whether I agree with what their perspective is. The perspective is, I want to hear what they think. These two guys that came up and knocked on the door that were from the Latter-day Saints. When you said they're in a cult, I will admit, because these were great kids. I mean, you have to admit they were great. I mean, they're knocking on doors in 100-degree weather.
The Mormons are going to be the nicest people that you'll ever meet in your life.
And they were honest, you know. And I said, "Have you thought about this?" And I remember this one kid goes, actually, my buddy Tommy said it to him. He goes, "Nah, I never really thought of that." And he goes, "You know, that's interesting that you say that." So they weren't stuck in their opinions like a lot of people are. They just want to drive it down your throat, because Tommy is the kind of guy that goes, "Come on, sit down. We'll talk for the next 3 hours if you want to." And then he's one of these guys that's a big thinker. So he was just driving questions at him left and right. I think that would be a really good day of, I think it'd be entertaining to people, informative, and have an imam on, a rabbi on, a Catholic priest on the show, or a bishop, if you will, what have you, and have people have conversations so that we're not always fighting.
We could even pose questions to them, like, can you break down your idea of God, right? What is your idea?
With you, because you can ask the questions. I can sit back and take a break for a minute, because you know it so much better than me.
Yeah.
I can say, Isaiah, Jesus, take the wheel. Isaiah, take the wheel. And you ask questions and see how people answer these questions. Somebody told me they did a show, or there was a show that was on the air at one point where they would bring in is it a cleric, Muslim cleric? Is that what they? I think it's Muslim cleric, and they had a rabbi,
maybe.
Yeah, and they had these two people on, and they had a moderator, and they would talk about God and how their
Mhm.
perception of the creation and what the world is all about. And I thought, man, I would love to hear that conversation. So maybe I can facilitate it in the future. Right. That
Yeah.
might be a really good segment. And then the other one I want to do, and we got off of this page, you and I had talked about it once before. I want to do what was I forget what the title was, but where we break down like when he was calling Tucker
Yeah, yeah.
Carlson. I
Oh,
don't think people really know the background of Tucker Carlson. Right? If you looked at Tucker, and I'm not saying Tucker Carlson's a bad guy. Because you're an opportunist, Isaiah, and you're trying to make money off this particular system we live in. That doesn't mean you're evil. It just means that you're not on the same page with fixing things. Right? You're gonna
yeah.
whatever the system is, you're gonna learn how to work within that system. You're gonna take care of your family and make as much money and as much fame and as many riches as you possibly can. You and I are a little bit more like this system sucks for the majority of people. We got to fix the system because it's sliding downhill. Different perspectives. But what was it called? It was
Oh, I'm looking for it. It was
I sent it to you.
what do you know about
Yeah, what do you know about? And then we'll name the person. What do you know about
Tucker
Tucker
Carlson?
Carlson? What do you know about Candace Owens? What do you know about Bill O'Reilly? What do you know about all these media personalities, the politicians?
Yeah.
And then we'll break it down. We'll do maybe an hour or 2 hour where we say, look, and did you know about this person? Boom, boom, boom. You know, one that we didn't talk about the other day that was on my list of conversation topics was the UFC fights.
Yeah.
Did you see what Ian Carroll did when he broke down the Emmanuel
Oh
family?
yeah. It was
So-
basically he did in a longer version, in a detailed version of what we were walking
Exactly.
through when
That's
we
what I said.
when we were reading it on live on the air, right?
It's so funny that you say that because I'm aware of it. Remember, because somebody said,
Yeah.
do,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you know who runs the UFC fights? You know, somebody's trying to quiz me. And I said, yeah, I know who runs the UFC fights. It's the Emmanuel family. But most people don't know the Emmanuel family, right? You have one Emmanuel who did Obamacare for the Obama administration. He is the principal, the structure for Obamacare, which was the consolidation of all information and data about your medical records, which you're not supposed to have. But once you put them on digital, my doctor, Isaiah, I go into and I love my doctor, right? He's retired now, but I love my doctor. And he was talking about this was when Obamacare was getting ready to go down. I think I've told the story before. And he goes, they're going to give me $100,000 to just digitize my files. And I said, who's going to give you $100,000? And he goes, the government. And he knew what I was talking about. He goes, I said, well, I'm the government. I'm giving you $100,000 to put your put all of my information in a digital platform. He didn't even see it. I mean, he didn't see it. We talk, and I love him because he's been my doctor since like 15 years old. So we were talking about it. I said, doctor, I said, when you say you're going to put my medical information in digital form, what you're telling me is now the government has all of my information. That's what they want. They don't give a shit if it's on paper or whether it's on digital. Once you put it on digital, now my information about my health, now the government has all that information. The insurance companies had all of it. It's not between me and you anymore. My medical decisions are between me and you. I don't want the government to know what's going on with me medically. I don't want them to know. And we got a little, not contentious, but a little bit, you're missing the bigger picture, doctor, right? So we got into that conversation. But I think it's fascinating that they were going to give him $100,000 to do it. He got $100,000 from the government to take his paper files that were in a folder and put them on a digital format so the government would have them. That was Obamacare. That was one of the Emmanuels that put that system in place, right? The other Emmanuel is Rahm Emanuel, who said, never let a good crisis go to waste. He was the chief of staff for Barack Obama. Isn't it interesting that a Barack Obama, who was the Muslim, he's here for the Muslims. He's coming for the Muslims.
Barack Hussein Obama.
His chief of staff was Rahm Emanuel, who's a Jewish Zionist, who then became the mayor of Chicago. And their father was a terrorist convicted of multiple different crimes. Do people even know this information?
No.
Right? And if they did, would it change their perception of what's going on when the Emanuel family has the UFC fights at the White House? I don't know. I don't know if it'd make any difference to them or not, but it is kind of interesting that a known terrorist has two children, that one is the chief of staff for Barack Obama and the other one was the founder and the organizer of Obamacare. Isaiah, the more you know. So I think we could do that with a lot of people, and I think it would blow their minds. Then they'd start to see how these different people are tied together and how this whole system works behind the scenes. I think it'd be good for people.
Very interesting. I didn't that Rahm Emanuel was preceded back in the day in the House of Representatives in Illinois. This is in I guess he was in office 2003 to 2009. But he was preceded by Rod Blagojevich, the governor of Illinois. Oh, did I lose you? We might have lost Rob, guys. think we lost Rob. Well, we will wrap up the day then. Rob's internet has been going in and out a little bit. He dropped out earlier when we were talking with Dr. Shiva. So that is the end of the line here on the Rob Carter Show. We will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time here on Facebook, Rumble, X, and YouTube. And if you heard us, it is now it is the Producer Boy Show. If you heard us, we have Jim Gale tomorrow. He'll be joining us. He's running for president out of Florida. So tune in here to the Rob Carter Show tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time. See you guys later.